Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another Hardpoints episode. I got the break time boys with me, some of the most handsome, talented, successful bunch in esports. It's great to be back for another episode. Folks, we had a CDL Major #1 this past weekend. Lots of crazy matches went down. We had Super Week, then we had the Major. A lot of Call of Duty happened in a little amount of time, and it was a lot of fun to watch. We saw a really good test for a lot of these teams. We saw a lot of the top tier matchups that we wanted to see that were pretty darn juicy. Some pretty close matches, some not so close matches, but a lot of stuff to break down about all these teams and so many damn matches. First off, BTB, how are we doing, gentlemen?
I'm having a
fantastic,
marvelous day.
Yeah.
Marvelous, fun stream. Not too many hackers after like 10 a.m. So
we had
that
a bad
good.
little
morning
stretch
was
there,
rough.
Yeah.
Woo. Oh yeah, Chris was full muted for like 90 minutes, dude. We were playing with 3 people. Chris was literally full muted for a good hour and a half.
It was one of those days where, like, honestly, it more annoyed me for Joe because Joe probably started the first 3 games of our day today with like 20 kills with like 30 left.
Oh,
and
cheaters
then,
rooting heaters.
And we got smoked. And then like I was just like, and I was playing okay, but not like that well. But I was playing good, and I was like, bro, this is just there's no point of getting to the end game just to get clapped by someone at the level 2 that shot me across the map. So I was just like, dude.
Otherwise, it was great.
Yeah,
we had some pretty solid games. Yeah, I'm trying to think back. It's like the lobbies were kind of holding up, considering. I don't know. I'm just worried about it, and I'm very happy. We're supposed to have a 2v2 tournament today, and that didn't happen, and that would have been awful with the cheaters and the dev errors and all that type of stuff. So I'm happy they postponed that one. It was like Jack Link's 2v2. But anyways, lots of stuff to talk about in regards to the Major. So obviously the teams had to play throughout the stage. They got seeded, and we saw how all the matches played out. So I'm gonna throw up the final placements right there. We'll break down the bracket for you guys. We'll give thoughts about different teams. We'll look at the CDL points. A lot of information to get through here. Going to be a lot more Call of Duty focused on this episode because there so much happened in such a little amount of time. So throwing up the final placements right here. Bang. We have Faze. Oh, Crowder. Goach Crowder. Faze, first place. Second, Empire. Third, New York Subliners. Fourth, OpTic Chicago. LA Thieves. Gorillas at 5 and 6. Mutineers and Ultra at 7-8. And then the bottom 4, Legion, Røkkr, Surge, and Royal Ravens. You guys see the prize breakdown there too. 200K, 120, 80, 40, 20, 20, 10, 10, and then nothing for the bottom 4. Some good cash flying around there. I guess I want to start with Crowder really quickly because your team came in undefeated, right? And you're able to take it home. And you guys, man, it just looked clean. It looked like, honestly, I know you as a coach must be pretty happy with how your team played because just based on watching, there wasn't very many situations where it really felt close. And that means fundamentals are on point. That means people are on the same page. That means comms are fluid. Your game plan going into it was obviously spot on. Quick thoughts on the W.
It felt good to obviously have a W like that. That was probably one of our cleanest wins we probably had since Atlanta Faze has formed, other than probably the first LAN event of the Atlanta Faze home series. We looked really good there too. But I was more proud and like happy with the way they played, not even just because of the way they won. I think I told them before the winners finals even started, the way they played this entire weekend has already been something to be super proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And I relate it all back to the Florida thing of when we lost to Florida in that exhibition match. And everyone was going crazy. And everyone was like, this is the same old Atlanta Faze that had the fundamentals. You know how that all went. And I got on this podcast and I basically said, like, nah, it's bullshit. Like, that was pathetic. We played like shit. We have to completely go back to the drawing boards and make up an entire new culture, entire new way we approach practice, et cetera, et cetera. And like, that day happened for us, and I think that day was super impactful for us. I think we used that loss, and I think we used that moment to create a new culture for me, like as a coach, like to create a new culture of how I want people to practice when they're playing like with my team, and the same way of like how they want to, get better every day for themselves and then bring out the best of each other in that kind of way too. I think that was like my main focus after that Florida match. No matter if we won or lost in scrims, no matter if we won or lost in the matches, I was going to be super happy with them. And they've made a lot of progress in that way. So that's why I was proud. It had nothing to do with them winning. Like, that's why I was happy. They could have gotten second, and I'd be saying the same thing. Of course, we'd have to work on some mistakes here and there, but still, like, the way they came together as a team has been pretty impressive, and now it's more or less like keeping that, right? And like keeping that motivation. But yeah, so super happy with the way we started the year to where we are now. But of course, we have to make sure we keep that now consistent for the rest of the year.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Question.
Yes, go
Question
Joe.
over here.
Go Joe.
How much S&D practice did you guys actually put in?
A lot.
Because that was, I think when we normally talk about a team dominating at the beginning of the year, if you look at like optics in the past, it was always respawn. Like it just felt like S&D early on in the year, especially at early events, was, I wouldn't say 50-50. Like obviously teams had like better strategies, but that's not really where teams dominated early. It was always respawn. They sort of had a better idea in their head of how to play hardpoint or how to play control or uplink, whatever it is. But that, I think that was the first time ever we're at a first S&D tournament. I mean, that was perfect.
It was flawless. You guys didn't lose one at the major, right?
We lost one.
Oh, you lost one. Okay. Oh,
Toronto, right? S&D.
Oh yeah, you're right. So your overall record
during stage 1. Though,
well, no, that was during the group stage.
Yeah,
I'm talking major. I'm pretty sure you're
major.
Perfect.
They're perfect.
Because I'm pretty sure your S&D record is 11-1, 12-1.
The most they lost was like 3 rounds from what I watched. It was like all 6.
I think it was 18 to 18-6 versus Dallas in the final.
Yeah, that's actually insane.
So, Joe, real quick question, because I do want to hear his thoughts on the search, but like, how did you? So we went in so excited for Sunday because we figured no matter what, like you have Faze versus Empire, you have or Clay versus Empire, or Clay versus old teammates on Faze. Like no matter what, there was like a cool story, and we went in so pumped. Joe, how did you feel after that winners bracket final?
Okay, so I think winners bracket final, like game 1. So the reason I really like Dallas for the event was because like they were a team that prepped really well. I just think like this format really helps them a lot with that, like with what they showed last year at the World Championship. And I think at times you did see that. But I was like, winners bracket final, we heard that listening, like they just sounded kind of dead, like kind of like just really slow. And I was just like, man, the intensity's not there. So winners bracket final, the hard point was close. The S&D wasn't, the control wasn't. I was like, man, they got smoked. But I was still like, okay. They beat New York. Well, it was 3-0 too. They beat New York in the losers final. So I was like, all right, here we go. Like grand final, this is going to be a banger.
Oh, see, after the winners bracket final, I was just like, fuck.
Well, I just figured it. They had one slow match.
Too.
Like I thought it was just going to be a slow game, and they were going to kind of pick it back up.
Yeah.
I mean, who had like a 0.7 in the winners final? Yeah. We just didn't see that.
I know.
So I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's just interesting to hear that because I was more of the fuck, they're fucked opinion. But okay.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, they're not in a great spot.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, Joe, a lot. There was a lot of prep into that, but it wasn't really as much like reps. It was just more or less when like we did practice it a lot. I'm pretty sure we got a good amount of reps in there too. I don't know exactly how much, but it was consistent. But on top of that, it was just more or less what I was saying before, just about like how I want them to approach stuff. And like not even when I'm there sometimes, it's just making sure you're taking it seriously and actually not joking around and wasting your own time kind of thing. So there was a lot of practice of when we lost to Florida and then we lost to Toronto in the one round, the one map of S&D, of just, let's figure it out and stop, just running down the middle of the map and search and destroy practice and being like, this is boring, because that doesn't help anybody,
Right.
So there was a lot of reps, but on top of that, there was
they're
a lot
great
of
S&D players. I know that, but we
luxury.
legitimately have never seen that. Even if you look at like, if you want to argue something like TK at early World War II, the amount of clutches they relied on at times was absurd. Yeah. I don't know if there's ever been anything like that in search. Maybe
not that I can think of, but
maybe a complexity tournament. I'm sure of. I think maybe my NV team at like G3, but not to that extent, that consistently.
Well, I think you nailed it. Like you do have the luxury of, I mean, we've chatted about it, and I think I've talked to like Pack about it and different people. Like there is kind of like such a thing as like a good search player and a bad search player. Some people play search for their entire career and just never get better at it. Like some people have a better mind for it. I think you have the luxury of you guys were the best search team last year, and you didn't have this culture, so you like already had that luxury. And now if they are, really taking it more serious and really putting that time in, that's just fucking terrifying. I mean, because they're all good search players. I mean, I would, you would argue some of the best search players. And I think they almost, what would I compare it to? Sort of like I don't know, maybe an OpTic of the past where they could just kind of coast in hardpoint a lot of times. Like they were also good at respawn. Like they didn't have to put the work in. They could kind of coast through. I think you guys were sort of that in search for a long time, probably. And now with what you're saying, it's just like, I wonder if, because typically, I know you said you've never seen anything like that, Joe, but like I feel like there have been teams that have been always better at search early in the year, and then people sort of catch up by watching their VOD and people improve. But I just don't know if that's the case here. I don't know if it is, because I think this is a different monster. At least that's how I felt when I'm done.
But I guess it's not that early. Like we're in March, but I feel always like the first sort of couple events are typically. I just think the focus is always sort of on like players really focusing on respawns. Like that just, I don't know, man. That was different what we watched. Like they read the map better. They rotated. They read teams. There was basically every decision they made, they won. I mean, honestly, like they hardly were hard countered. That's really it. I mean, I don't know.
My next question, we'll move on from Faze soon because I know Crowder loves to talk about his own situation, his own team. One more for you, Crowdy boy. I feel like this roster change, we've brought it up several different times. There's different ways to look at it for sure. But do you think I don't know how to just, the cleanliness, the clean gameplay, how much do you attribute that to Arcitys' leadership coming in? Because the biggest thing, like you kind of brought it up, I know Modern Warfare was a different game, but it's just a lot of times where it just felt chaotic and messy a lot. There was only so much you could control in MW. But I guess, how much do you credit that to Arcitys coming in and being a leader?
So a lot. I also think the 4v4 switch makes it a little bit less chaotic just in general.
Sure. Yeah.
I think last year was an eye-opener for the boys in general as well. You know, like they had a good year last year. If you really put it on paper, they made a lot of money. They did good, but
need
that's
more
not
wins.
what they wanted to do.
Need more wins.
Looked like LeBron's final record.
So yeah, so they wanted more than that, right? So I think it was a product of all of that. I think Alec coming on board, not only in practice, he's awesome to coach. It makes my job a lot easier, right? I think it helped a lot just in those moments where I'm pretty sure, Maven, you said it in the final or the winners final or whatever final it was, where they started getting a little crazy in the hard point, and he was like, yo, relax.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone was like, okay. And then they went back for it.
First thing that stood out to me, I was like, there it is.
Yeah, those moments last year for us would kind of keep spiraling into more hecticness of like crazy. And then it would be like a 10-point game, and whoever made a crazy clutch play at the end would win. So I feel that helped out a lot. I also think Alec has become way more of a leader since day one of this team until now. I think he's focused on that himself. So like watching someone improve, not only in gameplay, but you know, on their own self of like how they can become better and help the people around them. It's been pretty cool to watch. So
that's awesome.
He's helped a lot tremendously. I think there's a product of a lot of other things into that too, but I mean, he's amazing. He's a star player. He's a great leader. And I think a lot of like what we practiced came together and things went our way at the same time. I think that was a product of us doing well, doing what we wanted to, and then, you know, some rounds and some things going our way, some good timings too. And it just all worked out really well.
It's one of those things too, like a year like last year helps guys like a BZ and Simp too. I think like, well, even Cell. Because I mean, you think about like Simp, he just kind of joined E United, and they had like one or two events where they didn't really get going, or win, and then they won a world championship, and then Atlanta Faze started, right, and then he won his first Atlanta event. I guess like when you think about how young of a player he is and how young of a career he still has, he really, I mean, hasn't been like through that sort of struggle, I guess. Like obviously going, what was the record? Like 2 for 6 or 2 for 5, whatever it may be.
2 and 5.
In finals, like, you know, you learn some things, but the fact is like even that formula was still working last year. Like you guys were getting there, like, no matter what. So has to help them.
I hit him up. I just love him, dude. I hit him up because I don't want to like spoil anything, but I recorded contesting the point, and we talked about Faze obviously, and you heard me on the broadcast just because we talked to Chris so much, pushing the culture thing big time and how important I thought that was and how important your guys' preparation and the shift of focus was. And just due to the topic, I was worried it would come across that I was maybe downplaying Arcitys and how important he was, because I just thought that was more important of a shift. Even if he wasn't there, like if you guys had made that change last year, you would have been way better too. And I hit him up and I was like, listen, when it comes out, like, I don't want you to feel that way. I'm not trying to discredit you. I think you're a fucking beast, but that was just kind of what I was arguing. And he just responded with, I came here to get back to the fundamentals. We got to win. I was like, all right. Yeah, I don't know. I love the guy. I love the guy, man. He's great.
I think it was one of the best roster changes that we saw, and it's cool to see it pay off. And I just noticed it from the gameplay. It just, you could tell there was a plan, right? And you watch other teams, and it just looks messy, it looks scrappy, and it looks like teams are just relying on someone to have a pop-off game, and it's just not a reliable strategy. But let's move on from Faze. We covered a decent amount on that. Congrats on the win once again, Crowder. Team looking really, really good, and a great way to start the stage. And you said it yourself that the showcase weekend, the kickoff weekend, it like kicked you guys into shape a little bit, right? It had to get you informed quickly, and I feel like there's not a lot of teams that could probably bounce back that quickly. The match didn't really matter that much, but I just think it shows the culture, the mindset of the players and your coaching staff. So
it didn't matter that much, of course, but it mattered the most.
Yeah.
You know, like it mattered so much because everything that we reflected on that we wouldn't let happen this year or try not to let happen this year happened.
Like
and then
right off the rip, you're like,
I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was like my first thing I said. I was like, dude, I'm not going through another year of this. Like of us doing this again. And everyone was like, I agree. You know what I mean? Like no one wanted to be a part of that again. And it has nothing to do with like any individual's fault. It was just something where we could have just been more focused on like a bigger goal than just map wins or just this or just numbers and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's like kind of where I want to focus on like KD and all that stuff too. Like, bro, I don't care if Celium or any of them has a 0.9, you know, go the right damn way. Yeah. And then I that's it. You know, like you don't have to do anything like trying to
there's a good 0.9 and a bad 0.9.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find that balance within players like that is kind of, if you can find that, it's really important, and it goes a long way. Super hard to do no matter who you are. There's no magic to it, but I feel like that's kind of what you want to go for. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, before we move on, we'll probably cover the Empire next because they are the team that we saw the most from. They made it to the final. They made a really, really good run. Let's pull up the CDL point standings really quickly to see what this major actually meant. Boom. CDL point standings after the major. You guys can see the map win percentages on the right. Faze sitting at 8-0 overall match win record. Obviously, they've been making a run throughout the stage and in the major as well. You have the Empire and OpTic following a little bit underneath, but Faze has 125 CDL points, which is huge. Empire sitting at 100. Chicago OpTic has 80. New York has 80. And all the rest of the teams sort of follow way back under. So having a big lead like this after the first major, obviously it matters, you know, for the seeding into the next groups, for the next stages. But we saw how it translated over last year, where the teams that held a great amount of points, you have a better seed. You, in theory, should be getting, I don't know, it's kind of different with the format compared to last year, but it just helps you. We should be getting easier matches, right?
Well, it just matters for champs, really, right?
Yeah.
Because the way it's seeded is.
Oh yeah, it doesn't even matter for the stages now. You're right.
So.
Yeah.
I think the only thing seed matters for is like what at the tournament you don't have. How's that work? Do you have coin flips during the league? But is it high seed gets picked, or is it still a coin flip?
But if it's it depends. Like whatchamacallit, like in a winner's bracket you'll have seeds, but like in the loser's bracket, those seeds obviously I don't think at that point they matter. I think it's just only flip at that point.
Well, so it's more for however the draft works. They pick first.
Yeah,
there's the whole group stage. Yeah. Well, the whole group stage. I mean, that could play into it. I'm not 100% sure. But
it's mostly for champs.
But yeah, but then your point for champs, the most important tournament. Obviously, you want the most CDL points possible. Yeah. And then I guess like having that the first round bye is pretty damn big too. You know, you have more time to prepare. I don't know. It gets you in a. It probably depends on the team in which that helps. And then one more point I want to bring up too is like, I think it's interesting too. I think a lot of teams, this might sound weird, but I feel like a lot of teams might have been overperforming because they had so many matches within a short period of time. Like with the Super Week leading right into the major. All this happened a lot at once, and I feel like these teams were able to improve at such a rapid pace because they got so many in-match situations. I'm curious to see how that changes if once the matches are more spread out. You guys get what I'm trying to get at? Like,
Yeah.
When you're just back in over and over again, like it's
Well, and I
fresh.
think one thing to take from that as well is sort of, and we talked about this a good amount, was when you play a tournament, vetoes are going to have a huge impact. I think this may be the biggest impact I've ever seen on a tournament as well. Like there were teams that had obvious map weaknesses right out of the gate. Like, and as soon as, I mean, if you look at like the NYSL like OpTic match, like there were weaknesses shown. As soon as there was like a switch up on some of the map vetoes, people had a lot of issues. And that was the one thing, like with Atlanta Faze, they had so many map wins on so many different maps, it just didn't matter. Didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And like
I usually thought
it
was a bigger deal at the end of the year than it was early. Like at least in my.
Well, I mean, right now you could tell.
I agree, but I guess I thought it usually, in my experience, it was like you notice that far more at the end of the year, like later.
It's
in
usually
the year.
after an event. Usually, like you kind of have a trend that picks up. People notice that trend.
Yeah.
And then bang, like.
Well, I wondered at TeeP's point about everyone playing so much and worrying about if they'll get worse. I guess I just wonder, kind of like Chris said, kickoff week can be like a wake up call. I guess if I'm any player in the league and I saw how FaZe just won that event, I don't know how the fuck it's not a massive wake up call. Like if you have any expectations of winning,
no, it's definitely going to be for everybody.
It's got to be a fucking wake up call. It's just that wasn't.
That's the nature of the competitive world. Everyone, now wants to.
Yeah, but in that fashion, I guess I'm saying, like, it's one thing if you lose and someone else wins, but like to win it like that, I guess as comfortably as we all feel it was, especially from the search standpoint, like I hope it kicks everybody's asses into gear, I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean, even the way we lost champs last year, it like felt the same way. Like we got smoked at champs last year, and it was more or less like, like, damn. Like there was nothing but respect for them. They played incredible. That's all you could say, and you're like, all right.
You were just like out prepared, right? Like it was just like
dude. Well, some of the things we were prepared for, and they just executed it still. Like we knew it was coming, and it didn't matter. Like they played it well. Done.
But I think that's why I'm not worried about Empire though. Like even though
I mean, I'm pretty sure Crim said it. He's like, I don't even care that we got second. Like they played it well or something. I forget what he said, and he was like,
he just said we're gonna learn a lot from this.
But that's something to give them credit in this competitive atmosphere that we're in. It's just like that's inspiring in itself, just because of the culture that Dallas kind of formed last year. I mean, to give them a lot of credit, actually, I guess, because I actually respect the way they operate for the most part. I mean, of course, I'm outside looking in here, but I just feel like last year they were the joke of the league at first with the whole online thing, and they lost their first 3-0 and everything. And a lot of teams right then and there kind of almost want to make a roster change and just call it quits, right? That like a lot of times that happens, and I feel like they kind of stuck through it regardless. I'm sure there was some internal stuff. Shotzzy didn't start off hot, and look how they ended the year, Like that didn't come from anything. Their talent didn't get better. Like, of course, Shotzzy started playing better, but like he didn't all of a sudden just get better at the game. Like it was the culture of how he approached every single day to become a better player and for them to become a better team, right?
Yeah,
like I mean, you've dealt with Rambo, like Ray. Like I'm pretty sure Ray is a pretty methodical guy in the way he approaches practice and everything.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So like in that sense, that's like a super inspiring thing to watch too as a competitor, right? So I think it's just like I think the competitive nature of this league, that's probably a lot of people thinking that way. So that's just that's kind of the beauty of the CDL is, there's a lot of good teams that can do it back. So like we have to stay on our game as well as I'm sure a lot of people are about to step it up massively. So we'll see.
I think like the format though kind of helps you like not sort of become unmotivated, if that makes sense. I guess like because like you have this week off, but then you go straight into group stage, right? And say you have a poor group week, that's kind of like a kick in the ass of like, all right,
time to wake up.
Yeah, this is happening, right? Because in the past, after a tournament, you may have 3 weeks till a month. Some teams, will go through roster changes. The team who wins at times will probably take a week or two off. While that time is happening, the people that like lost in the final, they're playing the whole time. They're playing the whole time. They're trying to catch up. they're getting into a groove, or if they did make a new or like a roster change, like they were, going through that honeymoon period. I think this format, like you take a 2-3 day break. If you have a bad group stage weekend, you're just sort of back to like, we can't let this happen again. Like refocus, right? Like it is time to reset what went wrong. We have to go back to practice. What are we watching here? Hey, stop being a dickhead. Whatever it may be.
Good point.
Like, boom, it's right
those
back
old,
to it.
Those old tournaments, you had 2 bad games, and that's it. You have to sit there and watch
and
the entire time.
You had like a whole month off.
Yeah,
like last year.
Exactly.
And also to your point too, like from the team that wins, you win. You know how those next month of scrims go after you win.
Yeah.
They don't go anywhere. They're usually like, back in the LAN days, right? Like a year or 2 ago, it was, these guys suck online, even though that probably had nothing to do with, these guys suck on LAN while you're scrimming them online. So like you're just getting terrible practice because your mindset's off, right? And usually that kind of makes you worse and worse. Like slowly you just
didn't happen 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. That didn't happen 2 weeks ago on LAN. I've heard it. I mean, I've said stupid shit like that when I was younger.
You have that scapegoat. Like it's just.
But that's the thing. It's like this year you can't really do that. You can, but you would just sound like an idiot, And I think that is big. I mean, bro, you come out and you lose the first 2 matches, or you have like 2 shaky matches to start off the week. It's like, yo, guys, like come on, like we're better than this. We're not playing well. We're just not going to cut it when it actually matters again. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I just feel like Dallas and Atlanta have a pretty significant lead on the rest of the teams right now. That could definitely change, especially we'll break down the subliner situation. I'll be curious to see how they do. But
yeah, well, we're just real quick. I don't know that I think Empire's there yet. Like I don't think they're that far ahead of other teams, but I think they're getting there, and they will get there faster. I guess.
So I guess my point was, I think they have a deeper map pool than other teams. Maybe not as deep as Faze's, but I don't know if that's a fair comparison right now. I think Faze just looks so goddamn clean, and especially when you have a basically perfect record in S&D, like what are you really supposed to do, especially in a BO9 format? Anyways, the point was like, Hook just kind of got shut down, and then that was the only team that was able to do it. He's been arguably the MVP so far of the stage. I know Simp ended up being the player of the stage or whatever for stage 1.
Yeah.
And I think that's completely a great pick too, right? Maybe 1A, 1B sort of situation. But like Hook has been nuts. So like maybe if we get another series where he could put up a better stat line against Faze, it'll be a bit closer. But
that's the tough thing. And that's why we were doing the keys to victory, and Joe and I were looking through it, and we solved him and Hook and Simp right there, like 2 and 3, and like their stats were so similar, and Hook's been so consistent. I think one of the keys for Faze was like Simp needs to match that star power type thing. And then if you look at the stats after the winners bracket final after that key, we're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think
it got bodied, but it's a tough matchup. But Hook's.
But I think to like TeeP's point, like we'll just talk about Empire. I mean, they like we'll talk about the finals format and all that. But if you look at the first 3 maps, because the way they got to play it, I mean, Atlanta picked the first 3 maps and they played Moscow perfectly. They beat them. They slowed Hook down. And that's a tough map for a sub, which I said on broadcast. Then they played Garrison Search, which Dallas didn't play a lot of. They smoked them. Then they played Garrison Control. And then finally, when you got to a map where Dallas has played a good amount of repetitions, which was checkmate hardpoint, Hook went double positive.
Yeah.
Like you could clearly see when a player was comfortable on a map. Like when they had a system built and it was a map that was one of their go-tos, he was back in rhythm. And then they went to Moscow Search and got 6-1.
Yeah.
And it was 4-1 at that point. And everyone's just kind of like, it's probably done. Right? Like, this is done.
Oh, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about the map pick side of it, which is a pretty, a necessary advantage.
Well, I know it's a whole other topic, but like we looked at the vetoes and I was like, oh, fuck, that's how it works the best.
By the way, Clint, did you push?
That is the advantage you had in the veto system for the best of 9. So you picked the first 3 maps.
Wow.
I
didn't know that.
They picked Garrison Search. I don't think we picked Garrison Search.
No, you picked it.
I would have picked Moscow Search the first there.
Let me look. We have our DMs.
I don't think I picked Garrison Search. I don't know about the control. The control didn't matter.
Maybe no, you're right. They did. But you are sorry. You got to ban the map.
You get the first ban.
Yeah. Okay.
You banned checkmate, which they probably would have picked instead.
Yeah. No, they definitely would have. Yeah, no, that makes
Right,
more sense.
that's what I
Okay,
meant,
don't think we
sorry.
picked Harrison
Because
at
both
that,
teams didn't get bans. That was
yeah,
that's
at that
what
point
that's
we
the
were playing
difference.
Mafia pretty well.
You got
So
the
I
only
think that's
bans.
what we would have picked there. But yeah, okay, that makes more sense. But yeah,
You dictated it. You
but
made it.
but
You dictated it.
with the veto advantage, I still think that's a load of crap that we didn't get a map up.
Yeah, we did. That's a whole other topic.
We'll talk format.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page there. But
Yeah.
so yeah, Empire, you know, they kind of got bodied in the final. I think it really didn't set the precedent. Maybe it was sort of an off day for them too. I didn't think they were going to get smoked that bad, especially in the winter final too. So, like I said, Ian said they're going to learn a lot from the situation. Obviously, they have a great coaching staff over there too. Very smart players. We saw it. That's a team that knows how to get better fairly quickly, right? And I think you look at the talent, the young talent on that team too. They got better and better as the year went on. So I don't know. I think
we're gonna see that matchup a lot this year.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah,
that's the rivalry we're gonna see probably the most throughout the year. I guess we can move on to Subliners now. While we transition the talk over to New York, let's throw up the bracket really quickly. And you guys can see where these teams sort of fell out. We talked a lot about the final, which obviously ended up being a 5-2 in the favor of Faze. There's the whole bracket, though, for you real quick. You guys can see the winners round 1 matchups. We saw New York had a pretty tough first draw versus OpTic Chicago. Kind of got smoked, got dropped down into round 3 of the losers right away, and then they just started cruising in the losers, though. But New York, we weren't really sure about them. Will they crumble under the pressure when it came to the major? I think they answered our question. I think getting a top 3 placement for a roster in the scenario that they were put into is a W for them. I know it's not what the players will say, but you just look at all the circumstances, right? And that's huge.
No, he said it. Like,
did Clay say that in the interview?
I missed that. Okay. The most telling thing of the entire weekend was Clay's interview.
Okay, I missed that.
When he was his open, well, I'll kind of give you the main point.
Break it down.
Like, he just flat out, like, at one point was like, this is mentally exhausting. Like, being the only player on the team that, like, has experience and kind of knows how to play the game. Like, I couldn't believe how blunt he was. But at one point, it's before they're going to play for top 4. He's like, I would be thrilled if we got top 4. And then they ended up getting top 3. But now he flat out said it. He's like, I'd be very happy if we got top 4. But that was the single most telling thing for me the whole weekend. I just couldn't believe how, like, I don't know, blunt he was with it. Like, it's just draining him. You're saying, I was like, oh shit, man. I mean, I guess we kind of figured that, but I guess I didn't expect him to say that in an interview. Not that he was like talking shit on his teammates, but like in a way, it's just like, fuck, man, they are killing me.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your opinion on being so blunt like that and putting it all out there. It's just like, I have the opinion like
cool to hear.
You want your teammates to hear that. He is giving all of his mental effort. Like, he's really fucking trying to get them over the hump and beat some of these rosters that are more established and prepared and whatever it may be, right? I don't know if prepared is the right word because they have great coaching staff too. But anyways, my point is, like, I feel like some of the younger guys might hear that and be like, all right, I can't mess up. I can't mess this up for Clay. Like, he's really trying. And then other people might have a different opinion on him being so blunt. But I don't know.
It's working for them, apparently. I mean,
yeah, it is working.
Well, and it's one of those things. I mean, they lost 3-0. They got smoked by OpTic.
Yeah.
Like, they got destroyed. That's when Formal and Dashy were like plus 68. I think across 3 games or something.
That was the checkmate map one, right? Where they just got fucking bodied, wasn't it? Was it checkmate?
I don't remember exactly.
Right.
I know I think you're right. But anyways, then they almost get 3-0 by Florida, who was kind of on a run. They had 2-1. They had to reverse sweep Florida, and then, you know, they're at least able to put themselves in a position to keep going on. But I thought, like, almost losing to Florida. I think they played Gorillas right after that. Was that the next match, TeeP?
Yes, it was 3-1.
Okay. So which I had the advantage for them, but then, like, after that, I was like, okay, this is probably because when you just first saw the OpTic matchup, the skill gap really opened itself up. You're like, they just were out talented. But then when I thought they were playing again for like top 4, I just thought it was done. Like, I just thought it was done. But they changed some map vetoes up. They got some different maps and they got hot again. Diamond's a beast. Diamond
is
Con.
a beast.
I mean, he solidified his spot on that roster. That is for sure.
100%. The amount of clutch, just 2 pieces. The guy's cracked, dude. I know he's like a AR type player, but dude, like he I don't know, man. He impressed me a lot. And now the conversation moving forward too is Hydra, right? He was supposed to be the starter on the roster. They're playing pretty well. Like if you had to point at someone on the roster and be like, "All right, you're on thin ice, buddy." I don't think you can do that confidently right now.
You can't. I don't think anyone logically made a change, but I kind of want to pose this question to you guys because this is how I kind of thought about it, even though I feel like you can't because of the top three. Who do we think is probably, with some orgs like the management's in charge of like team decisions, like maybe Ultra. For some people, it's probably a player. I got to imagine Clay has the pull there with regards to the roster. At least that's how I would view it.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But if you're Clay, and I'm not saying this is the case, just hypothetically, if you were Clay and you don't think this team can win, and I think if we all know Clay, the only fucking thing the guy wants to do is win a tournament. He doesn't give a fuck about anything.
Well, that's what every player does.
Yes, but
some players are more
there are
cutthroat
some that are more content to compete and not
be good.
Yeah. I think all Clay
no one would ever say it, but I know what the point you're trying to make.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. Okay.
So if you are Clay, and I don't know if this is the case, but if you don't believe that this team can win a tournament, like is Hydra even is he in consideration, or is it just
or is it simple as you not top three? Maven, I wrote it down in the document. I wrote it down.
I don't have it open. Is that how you worded it?
I just said, do you give this roster another shot, another stage?
Oh, well, that yes, I get that part, but I'm more referring to like the internally for Clay. Like, is that the battle right there? Like, whether or not you think this team actually has a chance to win? Is that what it boils down to, or is it as simple as we got top three, we stick with it?
Yes. I mean, yes, but no. I think how well they played and like how much like really, they showed some pretty good signs, like beating OpTic. They looked really good. They looked organized. Like they looked like they had a plan. Like they were executing it for the most part. I would say like they also played Dallas really close in the regular stage too, right? If I'm
Shit,
Thieves. They 3-0'd LA Thieves. Like
that's what I mean. So like they looked pretty good throughout the entire stage with that roster. To kind of chalk that up, it would take a lot. And personally speaking here, unless Dave saw more, of which they could have obviously, unless Hydra would be someone that would inevitably completely change your team in the sense of slaying, like he's an absolute superstar, I feel like it would be really, really hard to do so. But if they go to this next stage and they do 6th place, they just, don't play that well. I think
got him in the back pocket.
Yeah, but I just don't think, unless you're really, really confident, which I haven't seen too much of Hydra, so I actually have no idea. But if you were that confident, like when E United brought on Simp, I'm pretty sure most of the people like thought Simp was going to do what he was because he won like 19 NJ Halos, and everyone thought this guy was the next Prodigy for a little bit. Like, unless you were that confident, I feel like it's really tough to make that decision. So I don't know. It depends on how much they really have seen him play and like really believe in that.
All I've heard is
do bad. They have him in the back pocket.
I've only heard brought him over though.
I've only heard good
like
things.
How nasty is he?
But like how nasty is he is what I'm saying. Like,
but I guess here's the question. I guess this is the way I see it. Right, you have maybe a superstar on the bench.
Yeah,
you go into stage 2 maybe with this roster, and you don't win again. To me, we just wasted another month. Right, I think I would rather see them play with Hydra for a stage, and then kind of be like, all right, he's good enough or he's not. And then moving forward for your last 3 stages, figure out for the end of the year. Because we've seen this before where a team comes out early, they have a better sense of the game, and they don't make a roster change due to one good placing or solid placing. And then they just kind of fall off the sort of, they fall off, right? That's what happens. And then they can't get anyone. At this moment, NYSL's at kind of like the top. They can kind of do, whatever they want. But I just feel like if they waste another stage giving this roster a shot, they're wasting time with Hydra.
Well, that's kind of goes.
And then you have another stage which you have to get Hydra acclimated, right? You have to get them acclimated again in stage 3.
Agreed, and that's why it kind of goes back to my thought. Like, if you're Clay and you really don't think you can win with this roster, and there's a chance you can be better with Hydra, you try it. And I guess it seems insane, but like, I didn't really think about it the way Joe worded it, but that makes me think even more like, fuck, maybe it's a harder decision than I think it is.
I mean, top 3 is good. I'm not saying it's not. Like they obviously put together an incredible run. It's just
can you win?
The conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, can you win? And
it's like
if
the
not,
only conversation.
If not, then like, do you do it now or later? Because you have a situation where you may be wasting 2 months, and then finally you get to that roster, and you only have a little bit of the season left, or you try it now. Your import sort of experiment has failed, and it is time to hit the button of we have to redo a roster before the end of the year, which they would be doing anyways.
I like Joe's point because like you already have a good test of what your potential is. Now is the time. Like you want to do it earlier rather than later if you are going to make that attempt happen. I guess what I'm curious about is how much has Hydra been playing? Like has he been constantly playing in challengers? And has he been fucking frying? Has he been like
I've seen some like
starring?
screenshots, of like him like double positive versus like top teams, but I don't know.
Like are his teams doing well? I don't know.
Are they winning everything?
Like, or is he just putting up a stat
really
line?
Sure
so like that's the context that I need to give like a better answer to that question, because like if he's just over in like this might be mean. I'm just gonna say it anyway. EU challengers is probably easier than NA challengers. Thoughts? Can we agree on that, or is that mean?
I'm not.
I don't know because there's more EU vets there.
I don't pay enough attention to it to.
I don't know enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
So maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. I don't know, but like, is he? I feel like he should be in.
All I've heard is he's nuts.
I feel like he should be in EU challengers and just being like a clear, top performer consistently every single time. But
it's tough. EU teams probably don't want to play with him though. Like the top challenger teams probably don't want to play with him though because they know
another
he's
good
leaving.
point. Yeah, true. Like why are you gonna give this guy reps?
I think his teams are just playing like. I think he's just getting like top 4 through top 8 probably in frying.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I mean, he's probably statting to an extent, but like,
it
sooner or later, you're like, peace, I'm off to New York, like later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
can I pose a question to the three of you though, that you all have to answer? So same thing with Clay. After watching that run and thinking that they just started practicing on January 19th and all the improvements they made, that coaching staff and that team and that run to top 3, do any of you think New York could win an event? I do not.
I do believe that they are missing a bit of oomph from subs at times, from Mac and Asim. I think you see it, but I think a big part of this conversation has, if you look at Dallas, you look at OpTic, you look at Atlanta with Simp and Abizi, who
You don't have to go too deep. I just want to know yes or no. Like, do you think they could win an event? I don't.
I want to say no. I feel like if Clay is trying that goddamn hard to like get the train on the track, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I feel like a potentially winning team, it should be more, I don't know if effortless is the right word. You guys get what I'm trying to say though? It shouldn't be so much of a struggle, I guess.
Yeah, and this isn't knock them at all.
then
I think their run was amazing. I think they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
I just
so
genuinely
then the hard part of this conversation is it Mac or Asim then, or Asim? Who gets swapped out?
And that's a tough question.
So my opinion is I think Asim's been better. Asim has had the takeover potential, like basically flawless maps, and that's the type of stuff you need to win consistently.
And Chris, you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just a believer.
But Mac is
like if they have the right day, like I think they looked good.
I feel like that's not fair to Mac either, though, because Mac's been solid.
He kind of took a back seat. I mean, it's different for him. He's probably had the biggest role change from last year to this year. I mean, he was 100%. The guy. He was a flex. He could do whatever the heck he wanted on the roster last year. I mean, he was brought on to basically, I mean, in a way, kind of do what Hydra is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And he did. I think he took more of like a back seat, like full sub at times. Honestly, he's allowed Asim to just kind of go do his thing a little bit, which is what, again, we haven't. Asim's usually been more of that person, like that he sort of does the selfless things, makes his teammates look better. So that is the conversation. both of them can do that now between Mac and Asim, and it's sort of like you're bringing Hydra on to be like a slayer, right? Like he's got to be a star.
I just feel like we don't have enough from Hydra. We don't have enough info. Dude, I feel like it's like, do I think that they can win? No. But do I think they should make a roster change?
I think with last year's format, with last year's format, yes. This year's format, I personally don't.
Yeah.
I just think it's an experiment, man. Like if you stick with this team for another stage, it doesn't work out, then you bring Hydra in. Stage 3 is an acclimation of getting him back in.
Yeah.
And maybe what if there's a role change and then you got to do something again? Like you're just kind of
and then the longer
time,
the more amount of time that Hydra isn't in the roster, like he's not going to get that much better playing with like a I guess you'd play an NA Challengers team at that point, right?
But it'd be the same thing where the top NA Challengers teams wouldn't want to play with him that much.
So
right?
yeah,
like,
my point is like he wouldn't be able to improve probably enough. Man, it's a tough situation, dude. They just got put in a weird spot. I think you ride it. You ride it out. They improve so much so fast, right? And Matt could come out throughout this next stage, throughout stage 2, and just go nuts. So it's just like I think you leave it. Personally, I think you leave it. You let him rock.
I'm putting him in.
Yeah, you're doing it.
If you got a visa, if he's supposed to be that good.
Clint, what are you doing?
If he's got the visa, he's supposed to be that good.
But I'm
do
pretty
it.
sure he's in New York. No.
Yeah, I think.
He's here. He's done. I'm putting him in.
That's why it's also intriguing.
This guy's supposed to change his team. I'm in.
Before I heard Joe's point, it's funny because I actually talk about this on the next episode of the show. Before I heard Joe's point, I guess I thought that as much as I think you should for a lot of reasons, you can't after top 3. One, like the community blowback would be absurd. But I did say here and there
that everyone knows like that was a hell of a run. They wouldn't be mad about it.
You don't think most people would freak out they made a team change after top 3? You're fucking blasted.
No, they would
fucking
not.
Blasted. You are fucking blasted.
I think it'd be half and half.
I think absolutely without question that'd be the top post on Reddit that day. Without question, like what the fuck is New York Subliners doing?
That'd be half and half.
You would get half that are the believers in the sense of like why like root a team they can get so much better, blah 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 blah, and then you get half of the believers that think that was their highest potential and they can't win and they need something new. Like you think
that's the biggest part of that. That shouldn't even come down to that. It shouldn't even come down to that. But like I think there would be some. But yeah, my thing really just came down to what I guess I thought Clay thought, if he thought they could win or not. And then when I ultimately decided that I just didn't think he could after top 3. I just didn't think he could. You just got to ride it out.
Well,
but now after hearing Joe's point, I was like,
this all goes down to the coaching staff, management, if they're involved heavily too, and then of course the players of like we're all speculating obviously, and we're putting our opinion on it. But what do they think that they can get much better than what they were? And I know every competitor is like, we could have won that. Like, I know that. I get that mindset. You have to believe in yourself. I even believe in them. I just said it. I was like, they could probably win an event if they played really well on a Sunday. But deep down, do they believe, like, was that their best? Or do they actually believe, like, they could have probably done things better? Like, I would have to analyze the gameplay myself to, like, really see. But, like, where their game plan, did they not execute part of the game plan that really costed them versus Dallas there? Maybe. Like, it's more or less of, like, what they truly believe deep down, if, like, they've hit their ceiling or if they actually think their ceiling's higher than that, where they could have found themselves in a final, maybe winning.
That's what I was saying. That's what
the
boils
biggest
down
answer.
to. But we don't have the answer to that. We don't know.
Yeah.
But so all we can do is speculate, like you said. But that is what it should boil down to.
Like Joe. Joe's ambitious. We're I think we're all playing the safe card. I don't know. Top 3's good, dude. They got so much better.
Well,
it's good. It's great.
The issue is though you can view it the other way in the sense of like not the other way, more like their ceiling is way higher than maybe we're giving them the credit for. The sense that they had the least practice time, they had the least prep time. Maybe we're discrediting how good they could really be, and it just all depends on how they view that internally. Whereas I see that as a good run, but maybe as good as it's going to get. That might not be how they view it at all.
Exactly.
So who knows?
Yeah, and on top of that too, what was I gonna say? Oh, never mind. I forgot. It was something like along those lines, but nothing crazy. But yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just really what they think of him when that player and like what they can do. And also it's another thing too, like the way I know this is like a coaching view and I get it, but even players probably agree. Is their team dynamic really good right now? Like if all three of those guys are super, super motivated and Clay is motivated and like they're really hungry to get better, you also don't want to rip that apart. That's what I was gonna say. Like I know
Yeah.
Asum is extremely probably one of the most positive human beings I've ever met in my life, no matter what it is about life. And he probably brings a breath of fresh air into that team. Zuma even said it the other day on his podcast of how much he brings. And having that attitude and that culture in that team might not be something they want to rip away yet. You know, maybe this actually does take them to the next level where they feel like their ceiling's higher. Like it's so hard to make those decisions like from the outside in sometimes. But Joe's point is so hard to ignore. Yeah, it's so hard to ignore of like, hey, like, yeah, but you know, throw this guy in and if you know, then make a decision after that because you definitely don't want the second half of the year to really get the crunch time and be like, it's time to get better.
Because they were really going out
on
on a limb. They thought highly enough of this guy that they were going to start the year with him like that.
This is supposed to be this next guy.
Yeah,
this is supposed to be it.
Yeah, like that guy. Yeah,
like that guy. Like, and here's the other thing. Unless someone goes for, let's just say it's Asim who gets, replaced. There could be some teams that may go for him. But the fact is you probably control his contract, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And he's going to know if this fails, he'll probably get his spot back because they got top 3. And then they can build off that once again. Like, I get it. I totally understand. But, like, this is your project. Like, they wanted him. They imported him. I guess I'm just at the point of if Clay was really so mentally tired and exhausted and trying to get these guys all on the same page and he was worried that, like, at times it would be lackluster and their talent wasn't there and this or that, he's supposed to be a big part of that to making it easier.
So you really think if Asim was dropped and Hydra's put on, you really don't think the blowback would be that bad? I think you're fucking crazy.
No, I think a lot of people understand that was a very good tournament for them, but that was not supposed to happen with the roster.
I think you're viewing... I think there are a lot more stupid people on the planet than intelligent Joe. So
100%.
Like, I don't know. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll see.
After how well Asum played, I just don't know, like how you can bench him. Like I don't know. It's tough.
I'm saying if you have to pick between the two, how do you bench? How do you bench Asim? How do you do it? I don't know.
I don't know. You can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It leads to a really hard decision.
Oh, that's not my call. I'm never considering ever going into team management. Just
sounds
due to this
horrible.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm getting a headache just thinking about.
I'll be honest, guys. I'm not. Maybe I'm like meant for this. I'm down to be like a dick.
Joe's a cutthroat GM potential.
Yeah, I might be.
Yeah, I like.
Too bad you're stuck with me forever.
But I like casting. Yeah, so I'm good.
Yeah, so you're chilling, bro. I don't know. Give Joe a couple glasses of red wine and you're dropped.
Yeah, that sounds way more stressful as talking to my dumbass daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't just have to talk to him. I'll just be like, hey, it's me. You're out. Later.
That's hilarious. All right, man. Well, NYSL have a great finish right there. They had a big match. And the match that they won in the loser bracket against OpTic, that one confused me. And a lot of people just go right away and they say, oh, the vetoes. Vetoes, map picks, whatever. But, like, OpTic's coming off of a pretty big win, I would say, over LA Thieves, right? They looked comfortable for the most part.
And you just beat them on Crossroads map 1, too, is a piece of that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they looked really good on a Crossroads. Then they won a big match versus Thieves. And when they previously played in the first match of the tournament for both of these teams, smoked them. So then they come into this loser bracket match, and then the Subliners come out and 3-0 them. I'll throw up the bracket for you guys real quick, too. Yeah, so I guess we'll switch the conversation over to OpTic Chicago. And you see this big old 3-0. This is the match that I watched, and I was expecting a banger, an absolute banger. And it just wasn't.
Yeah, I tweeted out, like, Joe and I were tweeting a bit about the veto process and how we found it interesting. And, like, a couple of my responses were, like, Fire Cinder for Crossroads map 1. I was like, well, it was that, or I guess it would have been Raid. They could have
picked Raid. Why wouldn't you pick Raid?
And you just, my argument would be, like, I guess you just beat 100 Thieves there. So I can see how logically they got there. But it was just funny how people like fire him horrible. I was like, I mean, yeah. I mean,
that was
maybe
a
you could
team
have made
decision.
it.
Obviously,
Yeah,
it's not a
maybe
him
you could have
decision.
made. I know, we know that, but like it, maybe you could have made a better choice. But I guess I didn't see it as some massive blunder in the vetoes. I don't know.
I mean, they are 3-0 on raid hardpoint. You literally, I'm sorry, you ignored Crossroads. It was your auto veto for reasons like this. I know you got to win against LA Thieves. You avoided it because it was a map where if that team gets hot, you lose. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
so
I get that,
so
but I understand like
New York veto checkmate. So raid is open. You are 3-0 on raid hardpoint. Why are you getting away from your ultimate map strategy the whole entire time? I know you won Crossroads, but the whole time was to avoid it so you don't lose it to lesser teams.
I think it literally is boiled down to that. Like we just played it, we just won it, we just beat a good team.
You played it because the vetoes were different and you didn't have raid to pick.
Yeah, but when it is available,
LA Thieves didn't pick the map.
I know, I get that, but I think that's what it boiled down to though. It's just like we just played it, we just won it, like get back there type thing. And I'm not saying that was the right choice. I'm just saying I understand how they got there, and I don't know.
I mean, I know we're talking a lot about the hard point too. I'm gonna throw it up. This is breakingpoint.gg if you guys want to check out the match archives from the tournament. A lot of information on there. You can see all the stats for the matches, things like that. So yeah, we're talking a lot about this first map, the Crossroads, right? Obviously, it was 250 to 155. It was an ego pick. There's no other way to describe it. Like they were feeling hot. They won a big match versus Thieves. They went with it again. Joe hates it.
I hate every second of it.
Yeah, I'm just saying I get it. I mean,
the reason they picked Crossroads. The reason they picked Crossroads because they figured out their garrison stunk, right? Yeah. They figured out their garrison was probably great in practice. They lost it like 2 matches in a row. They're 1-3 on it now. They switched their veto to garrison. So LA Thieves, they picked Crossroads, right? That it was open because they vetoed checkmate. They don't want to play them on checkmate. Why would you play them on checkmate? That was not the call. New York veto checkmate. I don't get it. I don't. That is such a.
But then you look at the garrison S&D too, 6-1. Obviously,
it's another veto decision though by New York. They thought that I had the vetoes in my head. They thought that they were gonna play like they're basically hoping for like a rematch at some point. Like on some of these maps because New York I don't think played a garrison.
Oh,
so New York played that really well. New York the only garrison search they played was that. It was the only one. So I think that OpTic thinks that if it's available, they just won't choose it.
Yeah, but they did. Got it.
Yeah, so they banned it. They're like, screw it.
They probably banned whatever other top map that New York had, and not thinking they'd pick that shit. And then
Well, it's just funny because when I talked to Rev, and I can't remember what series it was before. It wasn't this one, but I was just getting like his. I think Joe and I were doing keys to victory for something. Maybe it was against Gorillas, but he just sort of said like, we just want to play straight up maps and out talent them. Like we get hot, we fucking fry people. Like they just wanted to play straight up maps and send it. Like that was kind of in a way their game plan. So like OpTic kind of played into that. Which is interesting. Well, OpTic kind of did, I guess, kind of played into that. Like they might not have realized, for New York, that was kind of their mentality. Like we just want to get straight up maps people and fucking send it. And
they just put them on a map where neither team played an official match on it.
Yeah,
and maybe
I guess I was more sorry. I was more referring to the hard point too. But yeah, the search. The shirts, I did not expect to go down like that.
Watching that search, yeah. One quick thing. It seemed like Clay knew exactly what the hell was the game plan on Garrison. I swear, like every time they switched to the cams of the players talking before every single round, that dude was going nuts. Like this, and usually when you see like the animated comms like that, someone has. Like he had the playbook out in his mind. He watched a bunch in his head. He watched like VODs or something, and he knew. Like I don't know. I just saw it. It might be stupid because he could have been just hyping them up or something. But usually when you see that, I swear he knew exactly what the fuck was going on, and he is calculated. Move on to control now, Joe.
I mean the checkmate control. This has been one that OpTic sort of they like to flex to because they have a really defensive round strategy. The problem is at times if you get put in the hole, you then have to win an offense. And they get, it was 2-1, right? It was round 4. They have an 11v4. 11v4. If they would have won it, they would have been on defense. And I think I tweeted like a picture of it, but Diamond Con gets a 2-piece on it. They're not stacking the point, and they lost the round. I don't know. It was just like a crazy, like, I guess that round wins. OpTic gets defense. Like the discussion of a reverse sweep is 100% there, because then you get to another hard point, which would have been I don't remember.
Well, yeah, I mean the map 3 it felt like they should have won. The other two didn't. But yeah, the map 3 they should have won. That one they
should have got it to around 5, which they would have had defense.
And yeah, you agree they should have won then. If you have defense on checkmate round 5, yeah, you should have fucking won.
I guess to me for Chicago is kind of I think they still would have been the best like respawn opponent against Atlanta Faze, but there are still these blatant mistakes that only seem to come up during matches at times. It feels like their practice just seems to be good. Obviously, a lot of teams are like, "Holy smokes!" Like they're winning respawns, but there always seems to be these little moments within their matches where something is off, and then it catastrophically leads to them like losing.
So how different are I always wondered this because let's say like your level of being amped up, whether it's adrenaline or caffeine or whatever the fuck, like how different were your guys' comms like in shit in practice to tournament? I imagine it gets quite different. Maybe it starts there. Like it's just a different,
like too chaotic
or whatever it is. Like I imagine that's where I think it probably boils down to personally is like that's why I think separates Faze from just about every team for the most part. It's just like your guys' kind of culture and calmness and camaraderie and teamwork.
I got pretty nuts during matches, so
yeah, and
like,
I mean that can work obviously. I mean, but I wonder if there's a distinct difference, and we don't get to listen to all the comms. I know we do during scrims, but not during tournaments. If there is like a major difference, maybe not. But
I just think though too, like
I think there's a dramatic difference. Yeah, I've when I was a coach, there was days where they'd be locked in scrims, and I'm like, oh yeah, baby, we're frying, let's go. They wake up the next day flat as fuck. We barely, we're barely closing out maps. It's messy. And then on the player side too, I mean, player side's different for me. I was teaming with actual psychopaths, so I was the guy calm, like, yeah, hey guys, like, next hard point in 20, let's start to rotate, let's keep it calm here. And they're screaming, this guy's absolutely dog shit, chow him. And I'm just like, okay, I'll rotate. I'll see you guys next hill. It's just like weird, but it's just weird to
Chris,
me.
Can you speak to it though, like with your team? I'm just curious. Sorry, TeeP. Like, is your comms like? Have you gotten it to a point where you feel like your practice comms to tournament comms are nearly identical?
Yeah, well, you can't coach a team that is hectic as shit in a match and then coach them in scrims, right? Like, think about it. The way I view it is just if your team goes into a match, and I don't know the difference between comms in Chicago or any other teams, but if a team goes into a match and they're all like blah, 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 crazy, like they're like talking over each other, they're not really listening to each other, they're tunnel visioned in, like, and then you go in the scrims and it's calm, cool, like haha, throwing some jokes in there with your boys and having some fun, and like it's doing really well though. Like in the scrims, it's going well, but then matches you're having these like mishaps. I mean, 9 out of 10 times that's usually what it is because that's two different teams. When you start getting all hectic and tight and trying to do too much and making all these crazy plays and overthinking, a lot of the times, like, that's kind of where those moments happen for every team. I mean, I think that was a huge issue in our game last year was we would show up to a finals match or we would show up to a match and just I would get a listen in on the broadcast and be like, oh my gosh, like, what am I hearing? This is just not like, I don't know who I'm watching right now, but that's not the team that I coach.
And I think that's what's happening with a lot of teams. And like that, I'm worried because we've seen more, and it's possibly also the bad years or bad habits formed over the last couple of years. Like Joe and I touched on broadcast, like adjusting over. But like if we see more mistakes on broadcast, like I'm genuinely worried Joe's going to go bald rapidly, and then we're going to have 2 bald commentators, and we're fucked. Like that can't be a thing. Because Joe is
happening.
In between like breaks sometimes. Like I wish you guys could hear Joe talk to me, like how just irritated and fucking pissed off he is after some of the rounds, and like he can't be he expresses the mistakes on broadcast the way he should, but like when we're off camera, like Joe, you sometimes are just fucking tilted.
Oh, I mean, people like they make the game so difficult on themselves. It's so like, I mean, I'll put it on some stupid place played for big money. Like if that was ever my team or my teammate, like I'd just be chewing their ass out. Like,
yeah,
I a lot of it comes down to like sort of ego chows and overconfidence. I mean, what we've seen this year is your ability to stay alive is so important. And I've seen players on like the right wing, like trying to jump shot on checkmate, like control and dying, like just people dying at the wrong time, like just the wrong time, and they don't get it. Like we say it a lot, but legitimately, if they just put their controller down, it's a better play.
bad deaths,
And they don't get that. It's not like a joke. It's the truth. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think it is maybe the match, and they get hot and they pump each other up, and then I don't know. They just ego chow, die too much.
you got to bring it up. It's like Crims.
They ruin their fundamentals.
Crims for the top rope out the plane.
Why he did that just to be a dickhead.
I don't know what that was.
Dude, we were dying. We were absolutely dying. It was so
You
funny.
can jump 6 ways off the plane wing, and this guy just decides to jump off. Like, what was that?
But I guess the ultimate point I'm trying to get to, I guess I'm curious whether it's probably a bit of both, but it seems like outside of Faze, even though it's not like you're mistake free, outside of Faze with other top teams, with Empire, OpTic, 100 Thieves, you're just watching two different teams sometimes. And I don't know whether it is the bad habits from previous titles or the comms difference from Scrim to Tourney, but there's something. There's something. Because this year, maybe it's not. I feel like it's so much worse than other years. Maybe it's not. But it's hard to tell in prior years because 5v5.
We're back to 4v4. I mean,
yeah, like now the mistakes are more glaring. And it's like you're watching two different teams a lot of the time. At least that's how I feel. It's just like, what the fuck am I watching? Then, oh my god, they're incredible. Like,
and that just speaks
it's not
to
just a guns hot thing.
Here's what did it to me. I think a big thing to note here. Let's pull up the bracket one more time. OpTic's match, those matches were back to back. So it's like that's what scares me so much, I guess, because usually a hot team coming off of a hot win like that. Obviously, both teams won to get to that next matchup. So I guess it kind of mutes the point a bit, but like. I would expect a team that won a bigger matchup against the Thieves, against the rival, right? And then they just come out right away again, and they just look so flat. That's the weird thing to me. They look so good on a hard point, and then like replay it right again, and it's just like, I was watching that match, I'm like, oh no, it's weird.
Talk about ego chowing. They literally ego chowed the vetoes. Legitimately, they ego chowed vetoes.
Yeah,
they stayed like they just moved away from their system. It truly, I don't know. I was pretty mind blown about it. I mean, Clint had attached to it. I was just like, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I really couldn't.
We talked about it for like the entire match. All we were doing was talking about vetoes, pretty much. I think you and I, and that was probably the first time. That was probably the first time that you and I had spent that much focus on vetoes. Honestly, that match is what prompted me to like really push it on our broadcast team to get vetoes in the following day.
Looked great on the graphic, by the way.
Yeah, no, I mean it needs to look better. We need to find a better way to do it. That's a whole other conversation. But like
the fact it was on there, it's that's the biggest parts of the series.
Well, yes, but it didn't. It only had the band, didn't have like who picks. Like there's ways to do it better. We need to explain it better. But like that literally that match is what prompted me to just like get on our producer. Like we need these in. We need these in ASAP. And they were like, all right, well we'll get it done for tomorrow. Thank you. That just because of like Joe and I were sitting there like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's good. I hope they can. They need to keep doing it. It's so
no, they won't.
That information is so important. And then speaking from like the back end side too, it's like as a previous coach, you have your more coin flippy maps, we'll call them. You'll have your go-tos and you have your weaker ones. So like there's a strategy to it for sure. And you prepare a certain way. So
I think it worse just for anyone watching. I talked to our main guy, Michael. He's the man who got it in really quickly, and I felt bad. This is like, sorry, it's a little off topic, but I felt so bad because like I hit him up Monday morning, bro. I was like fired up about it. I'm like, listen, the community on Reddit, like they loved it. Like, let's talk this week about how to fucking improve this. Let's get like a dope graphic. I want it to be good for easy for good new viewers to understand. I want it for hardcore viewers. Like I'm like texting him all pumped up, and he's like, "I'm gonna be honest with you. We have had 12 show days in 14 days. my team's got time off. And I was like, oh. Because sometimes it's like a commentator, you know, like we're on like every other day or whatever. I didn't think about like the, you know, the team in the truck or like the people producing the show, like they're on every fucking day, the entire time. And I was like, all right, my bad, hit me up later. So worst case going into stage 2, you'll have what you saw, but hopefully, you know, we'll get a chance to improve on it sooner than later. But yeah, I was like, oh fuck. You guys have been working a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, crazy. All right. We'll transition over to Thieves now. They start off with a nice win, and then it puts them in a position where they have to.
No, they lost. That was the problem, right?
I don't know.
LAG, right?
My bad.
Real quick, but
My bad.
Yeah.
So, my bad. I said that completely wrong. 0-3 is what I was trying to say. To the Gorillas. That puts them in a position where they have to drop down and make a little run. So, sort of similar situation that the Subliners got put into, but obviously their tournament ended a lot faster. So, that first match, though, like what? Anyone predict that? You know, the gamblers did.
I know. I tweeted about like brackets busted. People are like, no, dude, I believed in the Gorillas. I was
like, what?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, like guys, apathy's cousin. I bet. Like, no, you didn't. Like, you just wanted to try to win the bracket system points. But
let me pull up that match real quick, man. I was just mind blown. Like, what? Where is this match, dude?
I feel like that match, though, as much of an underdog as LA Gorillas were, after that first map, they were not the underdog anymore, in my opinion. Like, I think a big thing, even we played them twice, man. And, of course, they're not right now considered, you know, a top 3 team or whatever. But with how competitive this league is, I don't think anyone is truly that much of an underdog ever. And I say that because no matter how good or bad your team looks, the you know, there's only 12 teams in it. We've kind of addressed that all year. And then losing the first map to LA Gorillas, if you ever do, which is possible, you know, they get a hot map, they have a hot start, they do well.
Apathy was fine. Yeah.
It's something where if you were LA Thieves, I was watching that series and I was like, oh boy, this is not good for Thieves. You know, because if you lose that second map, now you're down 0-2. Of course, you can always go to the reverse sweep route, and that is not easy.
So the thing about the map too, I'm pretty sure
has a game 5 surge.
They blew a 5-2
It was a 5-2 lead. That was the big old yikes for map 2.
And that's the thing. So it's like, of course, they probably had some meltdowns and it didn't work out for them. Like, I get it. But just being down 0-1 to the Gorillas to me is just never a position you want to be in, like ever. And I think playing that team after that first map, it's like, oh boy, because even if you go down 0-2, there's a map 5 S&D right there, and I feel like the Gorillas are pretty comfortable in S&D, and they definitely have some game plans. I think Bevels knows a lot about S&D
from
his experience. So it's like they're a very overlooked team that can be very dangerous, and that's the thing with them with that first map that I think we kind of all said is that first map goes in their favor, man. It's going to be a long one, and of course they played really well for the rest of the series. Like, good for them, but yeah. So it's like they were definitely an underdog, but I just feel like sometimes that gets overlooked with how competitive this league is. There's never really that much, especially with them with the first map for me.
I guess with what we saw from the group stage from the LA Thieves and how much better they were looking, that was the biggest surprise to me. Was like we thought they were
going
they
into
learned
it.
Going into it was tough. Yeah. I agree that like I think we all know the Gorillas has like an opportunity maybe at some point to maybe even get like a top 4 or top 3 at a major. I wouldn't say win one, but they could go on a run for sure. The big thing for the LA Thieves seems to be the meltdowns and whatever is happening. They're kind of with what we talk with Arcitys. I don't know what the communication's like, but they have these rounds that they throw away. It ends up biting them in the ass, and they blow a 5-2 lead. It just can't happen because you're right. Losing that game 1 it sucks, but like they have an opportunity to lose or to win map 2, tied up on 1.
Yeah.
And the big thing for me in this series is if they go on to beat Gorillas, say they lose to you guys, it's also where they fall in the bracket because they would have an opportunity then to like play in New York and then play OpTic for like top 4. I just think like them losing where they did, when they did, and also how they did is like it was a disaster because then OpTic lost and they had to play OpTic.
It's
And
just
OpTic
so
is obviously
worrisome.
really
Never an easy
confident
match.
for them.
It's so worrisome. To Crowder's point, every team's really good. They have upset potential, whatever. I'll just be frank. Gorilla's moving on and playing Faze in the next round. I would have bet $50,000 that Faze would have won that match. Same against Empire. Same against probably OpTic. The fact that LA Thieves come into a tournament on an upward trend and then come out just so flat, it's just like, dude, what? Like,
well, I think they're probably the biggest victims and first team I'd identify with the problems we were just talking about for an hour.
Yeah.
With they look like one team one day and another team the next day. And I imagine it comes down to comms or fundamentals, or at least that's how I view it. It's just, dude, they were just running around, bro. And I don't want to discredit Gorillas, but like, Thieves were just running around.
Yeah. Just it was odd to me. And again, it's a different conversation for me if the match is close and they like barely lose or whatever. But like just the S&D was close or whatever, and they go like, it's just, I don't know, man. Not enough, and now we don't see enough reps of the Thieves versus like
top teams.
So they come in, they lose that match 0-3. They drop down. And then they play Ultra. They handle that series. That's a quality.
They look completely different.
They look completely different. It's like, okay, they snap
Ultra
back
also
in.
Win like 2 game 5s.
Yes,
like 2 big matches. They're
and Ultra is a super scary team too. I would consider the Ultra team a better team than the Gorillas from top to bottom on all 3 modes, right? So then I'm like, okay, they fixed it. They seem to be back in the right headspace or whatever. Then they come out and they take a map, but it's just like another one of those situations. It's like, are the Thieves gonna win a whole tournament?
Not with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, man. So like,
and it seems to be the same issues we saw a little bit last year with like the OpTic teams, like just a lot of frustrations and thrown rounds away. I mean, just bad fundamentals. It is what it seems, and it is match to match. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
it's match to match.
It's
they can't get on the same page.
Yeah.
It's what we said. The Atlanta Faze now and Empire, like their systems they're just like in play now, and everyone else is still trying to find that system from their strategy to their mindset. Like it's just not all there yet for all the rest of these squads.
And I think the mindset thing, Chris has touched on. It sucks we're online and you can't have that scapegoat or that excuse, and he's pushed that so hard. Like, who's one of the people you see probably tweet about online versus LAN the most? Probably Slasher. I mean, it's pretty frequently. I mean, I know that shit's in his head at all times.
Yeah, he does well though. I don't think that affects his gameplay. Like you don't really see Slasher just play terrible though.
No, but I mean, this is
I'm
probably
disagreeing with what you're saying because I agree. Like
probably the worst we've seen him perform in a while.
And I guess it's one of those things. He's
been dominant in a top like 3 AR for fucking 5 years in a row.
I wouldn't say his performance like last year, this year has been the sole issue why they're not doing good.
No,
like,
no. God, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, I wonder if like, I don't know, if it is an issue, just like if you always have that in the back of your head.
All it takes is one bullshit death. All it takes is one bullshit death in a match, and maybe he doesn't call out as much. I think the rest of his team really needs his leadership, if I had to guess. And it's just like, if he just, I don't know, like, I'm sure it could be frustrating, right? It's online Call of Duty. I'm sure bullshit happens, but it's just like, there's a breakdown somewhere, and that's what we're speculating on, because there's no reason a roster like that should look so wishy-washy. So it's like, I think that Clint brings up a decent point. What if he gets a bullshit death, and that's one of the first things that drops into his mind? Maybe he shrugs it off quickly.
Maybe not, but Slasher teams,
maybe not.
Like Slasher teams generally are. I mean, he has the way he wants to play, and typically he gets them there. I don't know.
From coaching him, man, like I'm taking more of the defensive side on his part.
As you probably should.
Coaching him, like he does tweet about online a lot. Don't get me wrong, and he's someone though. He's one of the few people, man. And I'm a big believer in mentality, and I still am, and I always will be. But he's one of the few people that I can see, like, complain or tweet or say something with, like, his logic behind it, and a lot of the times be right, to be honest. But,
Yeah.
like, there's nothing you can do about it, so, like, him voicing it doesn't really matter sometimes. But it doesn't really affect him. Like,
Because he's
I
got the
really
mental toughness. You're not worried
yeah,
about.
like, he's a pretty mentally tough dude when
Yeah.
it comes to that. So, like, I don't think he breaks down ever in matches on that front. Maybe I could definitely see him getting frustrated if someone does something really stupid, and
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
"Dude," you know what I mean? Like, I can see that,
For sure.
but I
I
don't
have a
think it's
feeling
that.
every time they lose a map, he brings up the YouTube channel and looks back at what happened at a
Yeah, like,
certain point.
he can get frustrated with people making mistakes because he
100%.
expects a lot of out of people, and he expects a lot out
Yeah.
of himself, and when he makes stupid plays, which I've had my fair share when I was coaching him, like, "Yo, Austin, that was a bad play," and he knows, and he's like, "Never happening again," and that's, like, what he does. Like,
Yeah.
and so, like, he's hard on himself too. So I wouldn't say it's that.
I'm not
There's
trying to pin
probably
it
some
on him. I
no, no, I
was
know. Well,
speculating
yeah,
why they look
I
one
know you're
way.
not trying to pin on him. I
Yeah.
wasn't really taking it
If
as that. I'm just more
anything,
taking offense because I feel like people could take that as, like, it's all him. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
think there's probably something just a little bit more there that they haven't really got it to click yet. I don't really know what it
yeah.
is.
Could
I
be
don't
simple as that.
really it's very hard coming from the inside out of the fact of me, like, being on a team and, like, seeing how it works, like, on the inner side. And when we struggled last year, a lot of people had a lot to say about my coaching and how I sucked at it, and the same thing with our team. Like, I got all those comments, and 95% of them were so far out and not even remotely close to the actual problem we were having. It was, like, kinda comical, you
Yeah.
know? So, like, it's really tough these situations I always hate commenting on this because it's so hard to know without, like, because I'm a big believer in, like, practice ritual of how they're practicing and what they're practicing, because a lot of that will lead to, like, what happens in the match, right? So, like, those breakdowns, I'm sure, probably have a lot to do with, like, communication, fundamentals, mistakes like that that are just leaking into their gameplay. And then maybe that causes frustration of, like, "Dude, we talked about this in practice 6 times," and then that's probably where you would find it, but I could be so wrong with that, so I don't know. That's such a tough situation, but I definitely think it wouldn't be him in the match of that, but I don't know. Weird.
But you just gotta hope it's more a simple. They just need to click, and they'll be a little more consistent.
Mhm.
It's not more of a. I don't know. It's not more
I
major.
think,
It's gonna take a lot of time.
I mean, obviously, we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think, like, one thing we haven't really, like, the XM4 GA, I think the way TeeP and Chris too, like, the way 4v4 COD in the past has been is, like, you've had a main AR, your flex has run a sub or an AR.
Yep.
The XM4 has kind of been like the Maddox, however we want to say it, where you're running it most times. If we think, or if I'm thinking the way it is if you're running an actual third sub, 74U, I think that helps them a good amount. I think they
I'd
have,
say
like,
that.
maybe one of,
Yeah.
with, like, Kenny running a flex with another scenario. Like, he's one of the true, like, flexes that's pretty comfortable with every weapon. But we can talk about that later. I just think, like, that could potentially help them.
Do we think this is real quick, but more general question? I know I've said every year we talk about this. Like, typically the game starts more AR heavy. It takes longer for subs to learn their timings, learn their spots. As the year goes on, you see more subs. It happens like every fucking year for the last, like, 5 years. But do we think just with back to 4v4 and kind of old school COD, like, is that still going to be a thing? I feel like it still
It just
should
depends on the
be,
weaponry.
Yeah, it depends.
But well, you say that, but, like, regardless of what's involved, every year that kind of happens.
Not
More
really.
ARs rarely, more subs
There
later.
has rarely been weapons in COD like the XM4, the Maddox, like,
Okay.
those things are kind of do it all.
The XM4
weapons.
one is dramatic, and I think it's the most dramatic in. I don't think it matters as much as in Hardpoint. Maybe I'm BSing, but search and destroy. I don't. With how these maps play out, why would a sub player use a sub? I would just use an XM4 and hang out.
Well, that's what, like, BZ was doing in Miami,
like,
right? Like,
so, like, that's where the conversation of the
When you have a
gentleman's
BB
agreements.
using an XM4.
Yeah, it speaks for itself. There's no reason to use a sub because it's one of the do it alls. But I agree with Joe in the fact that, like, a triple sub setup, like, it changes a lot of teams, to be honest. And Thieves, a team that probably would benefit you, maybe.
yeah, maybe.
You think?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we can talk
well,
about that maybe in a bit. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We still got some teams to cover. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm gonna probably skim over some of these teams because we didn't really...
we've already been talking for an hour and a half somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll switch over soon to the finals format, the GA discussion, because that's pretty juicy conversation too. But so we covered Thieves. It's just why is it with inconsistency? Really good, really bad.
Blaming J
really
Cap.
Good, really bad. Blaming J Cap. There you go. Sorry, Cap. Gorillas, they start off on the other side and they win a big upset match. They're looking really, really good. And then they get smoked by Faze, which I think was expected. And then they drop down and then they lose a match to New York, who was just kind of outclassed them too. So I think they're fairly just slotted in middle of the pack right now. I think we've seen some pretty good performances out of individuals on that team. I think Apathy's having a really, really good time with this game so far. He looks legit, right?
Well, at times. Yeah, that's sort of the big issue with them. Him and Vivid they kind of like take turns series to series. Like someone's getting smoked. So I just think for Gorillas, I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to come out of the gates like beating LA Thieves, I think all our expectations at that point sort of change. And they go down to losers. And it's like to take advantage of maybe like a win like that and like beat New York and get top 4. Just like the fact that they go down, they lose in New York. It's like they get smoked by Faze. They lose in New York. It's like, all right. So they just got one good match in and now they're back to being the Gorillas. Like, I don't know. It's like, okay, yeah, they could win, but I don't trust them that often to win.
Probably just not a deep enough map pool. That's my guess. I don't know. They probably have like their sweet spot, and if they don't get those, then everything else is very average.
Well, that was the thing, right, Clint? They didn't get raid control and raid search, and they lost.
Yeah. And that's usually
they got both of those.
That's usually
LA Thieves.
The discrepancy between like the top teams and like probably the middle teams. These middle teams probably have a really good set, right? Ban them all. Now what? Then obviously the other team's going to do the best. But it's just deeper map pools. Like Empire is probably way better at their second and third tier maps than everyone else, and that's just kind of how it plays out. So it's like,
well, I mean, it's going to be similar maybe to kind of how it went with EG in World War II. If they can just really get good at a couple of maps and somehow win it in the vetoes, and maybe they got a shot. I mean, that's kind of how it went, at least for that team, right? Like they were really good at St. Marie, the one event, and then they
Gibraltar.
Yeah. So like, if they can pull some stuff like that, because you feel fundamentally they should be all right. You would think so.
Just got PTSD.
Yeah. I mean, they should be able to pull off some offsets and stuff, but I think middle of the pack is probably how most of us view it. Yeah.
That World War II champs. Oh my goodness. It's just one map. One fucking map. One fucking map.
Yeah.
Jibby, one of our greatest maps. You kind of had to, you had to get rid of St. Marie at that time in the veto process. Jibby was one of arguably our best hard point too. One fucking map, and then they win the whole goddamn thing, and that was fun. So, all right, let's move on. I'm going to start crying soon.
Oh, that's right. So when you didn't even make it to the bracket.
Thank you. Yep. One map we needed.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, let's talk Florida. So LAG, one solid match, two not so great. I don't know. Middle of the pack. See what they can do to improve. Let's talk Florida. This was the pivotal change. The reverse sweep. New York's reverse sweep versus Florida. They come out hot. Florida's making a run and loser bracket. They're looking like Florida of old, right?
Skies looks like guys is what I think.
Right, exactly. So like that's the big. We had that whole conversation on New York where, like, we had the Hydra conversation, right? That wouldn't even be it would be a no-brainer if they lose that series, if they don't get the reverse sweep, right? Or
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like now I don't know where to rate Florida at all, because they look pretty good, dude. I would probably rate Florida above Gorillas. I'd probably rate Florida right around where the Thieves are right now. Thoughts?
I guess I view it more like I would maybe like NYSL. Like, I guess I think they have a ton of room for improvement, especially now that, I don't know.
You'd put Florida next to NYSL.
Like, I think they have a chance to like reach that type thing. Yeah. Personally.
We're talking about rankings right now.
Like right now?
No. More like how I see it going forward. But like right, he's got through the event. That's tough. No. I guess I mean like going forward. I think Florida has more room to improve. Like their ceiling is a lot higher than their current form than a lot of teams, I guess.
Awakening's nuts. They just need to do more. They're having simple. They just blatant mistakes.
Yeah, like they just fix that alone. Like who knows what placing they get? Like
Wake's the top player, bro. You guys insane.
It seems to me like it's, and I'm not the former pro, but like simple stuff, and I think they can get way better. But we'll see.
Yeah, big opportunity.
I just want to see more. They need to have a better group stage. That was the big thing. It felt like they just couldn't get things going in the groups. They lost to Paris, Atlanta, Chicago 3 in a row, and then they were putting lose round 1. All I'm saying is you can't have a 3-6 record when you have a player who, besides like a BZ, and he might be the best S&D player in the world in Awakening. They have like a 55, or it was higher. It was a higher like first blood, but they were around like a 60% first blood rate, and they were like.
Awakening's the only one close to a BZ. It's like 29% for a BZ and 25% for Awakening, and then everybody else is like not close. I mean, yeah.
I guess the only thing that kind of like Skies did better in the respawns. The one thing still for me is that Skies is like a 0.8 in S&D right now, and that's got to be better from him. Him and Awakening were like 2 of the top 10 S&D players last year.
True.
And right now he's not. And we talked about Slacked. And yeah, I don't know if it's like he's playing places where he usually Awakening would. I don't know, but I think if they improve in search, they'll be better.
It was Black Ops 3 when he first that's when I first gamed with him, and that's when he kind of popped on most people's radar. But I mean, this is probably I don't know. It's a lot different of a search in a game in general. Maybe just some adjustment period.
No, I mean, I don't know. Skies came from S&D though. If we're talking about Skies, right?
Yeah, but like from jetpacks and stuff. I'm saying, I guess it's like
this could be a repetitions thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I don't think that's it. I think he's just been like just a little bit off. I think it's like very, very minor adjustments, because I've known Skies for a pretty long time, because I used to play S&D with him back in the day. Of course, jetpacks were a little bit different, but he's just got to find his rhythm in it, and he'll be fine. Like he's super underrated in my opinion, and I just think like maybe it's something what Joe said, like Awakening's going to the spots he plays, kind of, or maybe one of you guys said that, but I don't think it's like him, like this play style search, because I think search is pretty similar throughout all of it, like the way he thinks and the way you get kills. It's more or less just maybe as a team they're not putting him where he should be. Maybe he should be more in different spots, like in the action. But I think he's fine. I
agree, he'll be fine. I think he's
I agree, he'll be fine. That's just the biggest thing that's probably
it's a good point though, because he's way too good at search to be doing that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I was trying to like think of why maybe that could be, and your point's probably closer.
Yeah,
what it is.
That's probably a team thing where like someone's going to spots where honestly he should probably be helping them out, like over there, or like over on this bomb site instead of this one, or I don't really know their system of search. I haven't watched.
It's probably trying to get like Neptune and Slacked comfortable. He might just be playing some situations he normally wouldn't.
Or maybe a team Slack's on just can't be good at search. Like maybe there's some sort of curse in the universe that like it doesn't fucking matter what team he's on and how many.
I mean, he's not helping. He's not helping.
No, and I think Slack's like the most underrated player of all time. I love the kid, but like it's just whatever fucking team he's on, I swear their search is just mediocre. It's just been that way, or it feels like it's been that way ever since I started commentating.
I just think they have a lot of potential, but that's it right now. It's potential. I think they have a roster. I think they have a really solid roster. I think Neptune's showing some really bright spots. Awakening is guy's nuts. So yeah.
Anyone worried about whether he'd be good? Yeah, he's good.
No, it's great points. I think Neptune is going to continue to improve at a crazy rate. I think we all expect Skies to play better than what he has been so far. I think Slacked is you know what you're going to get out of Slacked as an SMG. And Awakening's been elite, one of the best players in the league so far. So, like, they have the recipe for sure. You definitely let it ride, and I think they can keep on improving. Let's move on to Toronto. So, Toronto obviously started in losers. They won a pretty close one, to be honest, versus Royal Ravens. And the Royal Ravens had another sub situation. Someone explain what happened with that one?
What? I mean, I think Alice just had
Yeah,
far
like
as
a
we know,
family
family
emergency?
family emergency,
Yeah,
and they
we
had
have,
to pick up Zed. We're not sure, but obviously
Got
we
it.
hope everything's all right, and
Yeah.
that's really it. They just got put in a
That's
really tough spot.
well,
Another
I feel
really
bad
tough
for him.
spot.
Well,
Yeah.
last year he had the hand or wrist issue, and now
Oh
whatever's going
yeah, I
on.
forgot about that.
He seems like a good kid, so I hope everything's all right.
Yeah, it's just like another unfortunate circumstance for Royal Ravens because obviously they don't have zero, and then they get to the major, right? They're not in the best of spots, and then obviously another sub comes in. They go to about 5. You know, it's like the one saving grace for them. How much does that really matter, though? I guess it doesn't. So Toronto wins that one. Then they move on and they won a map 5 versus Røkkr. So Ultra's S&D record really, really good. And then I guess like warning signs ish for the Røkkr. I think it's a roster. If it wasn't these people on the Røkkr lineup, I think I'd be more worried. I think that's a roster you give these guys some time just because they are so level headed and intelligent. And I think there is going to be improvement.
We haven't touched on it as much, but like, what do you think's more surprising? Like Røkkr's finish or like NYSL's? I was fucking mind blown.
Probably
Røkkr came out where like,
I actually didn't think of it like that. Yeah.
Like it's funny because we focus so much on the top and focus so much on NYSL, and even internally, I haven't really thought about Røkkr that much. But like, it's actually insane because we've gassed them on this, and we didn't really have any concerns, and we've talked a lot about it. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but I definitely did not think 9th or whatever the fuck, top 10 or wherever they finished. Like I didn't see that coming at all, and I don't know. That
I
actually
think the one thing for Røkkr for me is I think you do give them time. I think one thing I would like to see, and I don't really know how you go about this. It would be tough to do in 4v4 and with how their roster is built. I personally want to see more out of Priesta. I feel like when you have seen the best out of Priesta, he has ran the flex role. I would like to have him with an AR in his hands more often. I feel like he's sort of been.
I like that.
I feel like at times he has been sort of just put into this sub role because how selfless of a person he can be. But when we have seen Priesta at his superstar status, it is when he is running flex and running an AR. I don't know if Major Maniac can run a full-time sub. He probably has the abilities to. I don't know if it's a conversation of which, if you have another bad stage 2, if you move Major to main AR or accuracy, and you talk about, I don't know, maybe a guy that's like played on this team before, if Asim isn't on the starting roster of New York, and you bring him in as a sub. I don't know. I'm going places, but all I'm saying
GM
is,
Joe.
I think to get the best out of Priesta in terms of being a superstar, I would like to see him with an AR in his hands.
I like that point a lot. Priesta being flex. Crowder, Crowder's a Priesta guy. I'd love to hear thoughts.
I think we're all Priesta guys.
Well, he's probably one of the most versatile players in the league, but it's just like plain and simple. He only thrives with a sub in his hands, in my opinion, when the team is playing. We talked about this on stream, Tyler. Like when the team is playing on a perfect system. I think on 100 Thieves specifically, we had probably one of the most perfect systems Call of Duty seen in a long time, and he was thriving through it, and he was playing really well, and he was aggressive. He was the guy that's first in. He had people following up, and it worked out really, really well. I think to get his full potential, I think when he is a flex, he is probably in his most comfortable role. I think with him and then XM4, I don't think you would have seen many people do it better than him, in my opinion. But with the way their team is built, I definitely see what you're talking about. From what I see from the outside in, I definitely wouldn't be worried in the sense of their players. I think they have really good leadership. I think we've gassed them enough. I can go on and on about it. They definitely have the mental fortitude and all that, but it just looks like their pacing sometimes is just like not there when they need to execute on that final move. And that's something I'm sure they all know exactly why. I'm like, they have a really good coaching staff. They're all really smart players too. Like all 4 of them are. So it just seems like sometimes when they just, go to make that like team push, someone's just not there, or someone's just like not about it, or like not on the same page. It's like, no, I'm going down. It's like, wait. And then it's like, oh shit. And then so it's like those issues can almost like sometimes never be fixed with some teams. We've seen that before in Call of Duty history. But then sometimes, in my opinion, those could be the easiest things in the world to be fixed if you have the right people with the right mindset. So I would give them another chance. If things doesn't go well, you're thinking you're going like, okay, like this isn't it. And I think that's where you're starting to like kind of go crazy. So I don't know. It's weird.
You give them another stage and see if they can improve. Go ahead, Joe.
The only thing is you had a 3-2 in groups. You had a big win over Dallas. The only reason they started in losers is because they lost the tiebreaker to New York. I guess, I think we just expect more. I think they expect more. So
simply,
I think like they're struggling. They're struggling in Hardpoint, and I think the easiest thing to me to get them going more in Hardpoint would to be sort of unlock like Priest a little bit more. But as you said, if their system isn't there, then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but I guess to Chris's point, like if he thrives with a good system, I think most of us feel with like accuracy there and the coach, like they should have a good system. So let's see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But
It's like I think they have the right idea. I just don't think they're executing it.
Yeah.
There's going to be teams that show up and have no idea what the fuck they're doing, and things feel chaotic, and they kind of like that's kind of like what holds them back. Then there's teams that have a great idea what they're doing, and they just can't execute it. My Faze team in World War II, we knew what we were doing when we watched VODs and when we went over it, and I screamed at everybody in practice, and then we got to some events, and it was like, yo, what's going? Like, why can't we just do what we talked about executing? So I think they're in that boat where it's like they have the talent, they have the system, they have the brains, they have everything, and it's just like now they have to find it like within themselves to just do it and like almost like trust it and commit to it and get it done. But with how these stages play and how quick the season goes and how much is on the line and the CDL points, you go major 2 here and you don't do well again, you have to do something. Plain and simple. That's just the world that we're in the CDL. You can't just keep trying to get the system unless you're planning on making a major run at like champs or like, later on in the season. And that's kind of really risky. So it's more or less just getting that execution down, really practicing that, and then seeing where it takes you. So we'll kind of see. But I think we'll really know, to be honest, with the first couple matches in this next stage of how they are. If they're really sloppy still, I would be a little scared. Just because those issues of fixing those easy mistakes, they're super easy to fix in hindsight. But getting it actually fixed in the moment is some of the hardest shit in the world, man. Because there's a lot of times where, just natural instincts kick in those bigger moments where it's like you can't even stop yourself from pushing in the wrong spot or going this way, like or playing too slow or playing too fast. It's just gonna happen. So we'll see. I think they have the right mindset and everything that they need. They just have to actually do it when it matters. And if they probably can't do that again, I would be a little bit nervous. But I'm not too worried with the players that they have. I don't know. It's going to be weird. But
throw them another stage. It'll be very clear, I think, to all of us. Let's do. We got a CDL intel update. Hydra will be joining NY Academy in place of Glow Frosty. Glow Frosty and Zaptius, I believe, are joining Røkkr in place of Gravity and Phantoms. Oh, wow. Okay, so we had the whole Hydra conversation before, and this now my
answers the question, I guess, right?
I feel like I'm gonna get a good test of how good this dude is in an NA environment, because that's what the league is. It's a NA. So if he comes in, and this guy comes into the first Challengers tournament, the first Cup or the Elite or whatever it is, and he just starts mopping people, I'll be like, yeah, get him in, put him in there. So like I was like scared of that before, because you just don't know how he's going to perform in an environment. But now we're going to see it. So yeah, I'm stoked. That's pretty big. And then I don't know, Challengers roster changes seem to be happening pretty common lately. That's just the AM scene, though. Those dudes don't give a damn. They'll drop someone and then pick up someone else the next day and then swap it out 4 more times and then play a tournament and then win it and then drop somebody the next week. It doesn't make any sense to me. But of course, I don't have all the insider information. Thoughts on Hydra getting a chance to play in NA Challengers?
I don't know. We talked about it for like 40 minutes.
Yes,
so like I don't know. I kind of landed on. I think you got to roll with it after a top 3. I think Joe was the only one that like kind of made the good point of why you might not. But I'm not shocked. Yeah, I'm not shocked.
All right, we won't stay on that too long because we do
tough,
have...
man. You got top 3. It's tough.
Yeah.
Put him on the roster.
All righty. I love it. He's fired up. So we talked Minnesota, decent amount. Give them another stage. Talent, smart, great. If they don't have, you got, like, it's those types of players where you need to see a pretty solid improvement, or else I just feel like something else is wrong besides just like the talent, you know? Paris, they were looking better and better. They caught heat in sort of the group stage portion. And then, you know, they don't really, you don't see a lot from them because it's tough to give a good opinion because they're on the rise, I think. I think they're going to continue to improve. But just speaking about the major, there's not much to go off of because they just lose a match to Florida, which is nothing to be, you know, that upset about.
I just feel like they'll be a very streaky team just because, like, unlike a Faze or something that I guess I view as being very fundamentally sound and players that are very, I don't know, just want to play fundamental Call of Duty. When you're not hot, you'll still find ways to win. I guess I view Legion as their blast to watch, man. When they're on point, it is fucking fun to watch, but an off day for a player or two, and it's just going to be tough. I mean, so I guess I feel.
I mean, you know, last roster that you put together, kind of a just outcast roster, talented players, but I think the one good thing is their respawns are great. They're like 6-3 or 6-4 in Hardpoint. They're like right around even in control. The big thing, I just had it. They're 2-7 in search.
Oof, I didn't know they were that bad in search.
There's a glaring problem, which is search and destroy, and that could be as soon as these guys form, they probably put a ton of focus on respawn. This because they just had to.
Well, didn't Scraps like have an issue with like getting here too? Didn't he? Wasn't he on like 200 ping for a little bit too? I'm pretty sure he went through that for a little bit too.
I don't even remember, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So like, I think when he got here, it was just like, yo, all right, let's get really good practice in now because they probably were just getting such like, you know how that practice goes, Joe. If one of your players is out of it, it's just like, all right, we're just kind of going through the motions. And then when he got here, they probably put so much focus into that because they just didn't have that much time to work with, to be honest. And that goes a long way too. That team should be good at search though.
Another stage is kind of where I'm at with them, kind of with Røkkr. I think they've shown pretty solid signs. They improved. Let them go at it again.
Upward trend, exactly. And then talk about the bottom two teams, Seattle and London. London, we touched on already. I think it's just a weird situation for them, which is unfortunate. And then Seattle, here
we are again.
Yeah, it's just same thing, different game, different year. I don't. What do you really say? Again, not a lot to go off of. They lose. I love their
branding. Still do.
Yeah.
Colors are great in game.
Colors are great.
I think I kind of talked about this last Hardpoints episode. One team still not to take a chance on young talent. It's just going to be sort of when is the time. Yeah. When's the time? I don't know. Who is the player? Who are the people that go? Who is? I mean, even in their loss to Florida, the only player who was even was Looney. I thought Looney played pretty. I thought Looney played pretty well. We casted them, and Looney had some. Well, he had the big blunder, but he had some really clutch plays, some really heads up plays. I personally liked what I saw from Looney at times. I think the Krieg meta probably helps Octane, in my mind.
You'd think so.
More natural AR, but I don't know if this is maybe the one team where I might be saying I don't know if I give them another stage. I'm not sure.
And are you saying just like clean the board and go young talent, or?
No, I think it could be a one-person change personally, but like I don't have any faith in this team being all that good.
I don't know their conversations, so maybe they felt like at times they were getting better and they're going to give it another stage. But I mean, you think about last year and this year, it's kind of the same thing. Just not real that good right now.
Seems like a mess. I don't know. You would think if they don't continue to not perform, does anyone here know off the top of their head how if a roster change would happen, like when the cutoff time is for a particular stage? Do we know this? Chat, do you know? Chat might know.
I never looked at it.
Yeah, I don't think I've looked at it for this
how
year.
it works.
I'm just curious to see, like,
I would assume that it's pretty open until a certain moment, maybe where they cut it off for champs.
That's what I'm saying. I was thinking maybe for particular stages, like a halfway point for a stage or something.
I don't know. It's so different than last year, because last year you had like several cutoffs, but it might just be like that. How has it been in the past when we had like a normal league?
Might have to add someone to your roster, and then maybe for the major, give like a final roster for that tournament.
Because we've never had it like this before. Like we've had like a season or two of a league, but not like this. Not with like 5 different stages. We've never really had this. So I could
probably ask, but I'm just sort of.
So I guess my strategy is like, if there's a halfway point on the stage, you rock it out for half a stage, see if you see some sort of upward trend, and then you have the halfway cutoff point, and you try something else. I don't know. I'm thinking just the strategy behind it potentially, but
I think
depends on when that is.
Sort of. I'm thinking it's pretty open. You have a certain amount of spots. It's probably would do the up to the contracts, and then I think
makes sense.
Group stage are probably pretty flexible. Maybe that day you have to put your roster that's starting, and then I would assume for the major that roster has to be the same. That's what I would guess.
That makes sense.
I wouldn't see any reason why it wouldn't be pretty open.
I don't see why that would change. I don't know. I think, I mean, I feel like I should know this, but I don't know it like 100%. So I don't want to say something on this podcast and be wrong. So I'd rather not. But I think we're almost there. Yeah.
All right. So this franchise model is more like sports and stuff. It should be more similar to that, I would think. Just kind of open until the major.
Probably major, and then probably until close to champs. That's what I would say.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, some teams in the danger zone. We'll see if big changes happen sooner rather than later. Usually, what we've seen in the CDL so far is the changes have kind of been working for a lot of these teams throughout the past, year and a half now. So I don't know. Be curious to see.
And to the people saying, bringing up the Zed situation, that was also their first match of the major, so he probably would have been qualified to be on that roster for the entirety of the major. They probably, like, if Alex came back, Zed probably would have had to play their matches, as well as they can deem it an emergency substitution. I mean, it was an emergency substitution. So
There's always going to be a rule that allows for stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk finals format discussion really quickly before we talk GAs. Was the advantage big enough? Crowder already said before that he doesn't think it's enough. Is it a map? Is that what fixed it? Do you think?
Yes. Absolutely.
I thought that was a good balance.
Wait, we did it last year at champs.
Yeah, why do we go away from that?
I don't know why we changed that.
Did anyone bitch about that?
Dude, the day of the tournament, Sunday, we thought that was the case. We were like,
I'm pretty sure I fought for that team to have a map in the best of 9 if they were going to do it that way. Like I was a believer in that, and it was against my team, right? Because we were the ones that came from losers.
Yeah,
and it was deserved. We didn't deserve a map. We didn't deserve a fair chance in that final.
Right.
We got smoked, but we didn't deserve a fair chance because they beat us in the winners finals. What was the point of my team going through winners and Dallas going through winners last year to not have an advantage? That doesn't make any sense. Yes, the veto advantage, I get that. But you also have to remember, putting it from the other perspective, we sat there for an hour and watched the team play a full series and get hot while we shot a wall in a private match or bots. Like, you're not warmed up like that too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, of course you can say the draining part for that argument, and I get that. It's 2 matches of Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's not enough time. Not enough time is going by.
2 hours of play, so it's if anything, it's almost not a bad thing that you come from losers, other than the vetoes. But at the time of this, you have 2 really good teams playing each other. It's a best of 9. Both teams have a deep map pool, right?
So I think the vetoes played strong here. I don't know if it will in the future.
I don't think they will in the future. Come champs time, if you make it to the finals, you were a well-rounded team. If you're a well-rounded team, you can play every single map. Yeah. If you can play every single map, what the hell is the point of being in winners? Of course, yes, I get you can get some bans, and that's a slight advantage, but not enough, not even close to enough. And that's why Dallas last year, against my team, so I'm not saying this biasly, deserved that 1-0 in the biggest tournament Call of Duty has ever seen. We didn't have that advantage, and we deserve to get smoked, and they deserve to have that map. Just like, if you make it to any finals this year, excluding my team, I don't give a shit about that. You deserve a map. Plain and simple. I don't think there's any argument to it. I don't know how you can see the other side of that. So.
Well, as a viewer and caster, I'll be honest with you, I don't really give a shit. Like, it's going to be entertaining regardless. Is just to watch it. I guess I don't really give a fuck. But just from seeing it from the player POV and your POV, I guess I'm just curious. Like, I like the best of 9 with one map far more than the 2 best of 5s, because I always thought 2 best of 5s was dumb as fuck personally, because you want a final to have continuity and be one match. Like, we would watch our viewership be higher in the first best of 5 than the second best of 5, because you finish the first best of 5, then go to a fucking 10-minute break to do vetoes and all the other bullshit.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the second best of 5, people like tune out. Yeah, like, yes. So I understand the logic of someone up top or whoever it would be wanting it to be one series. I get that. I actually totally agree, and I understand that. Like, having it be one cohesive final, I get it. I guess I thought the one map thing was pretty good balance from swapping out of 2 series.
Thoughts on continuation? If you had played them prior,
continuation.
You mean like how Haley do it?
It is. It was too confusing
to viewers.
I get that.
That's too confusing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the last thing. Sorry. The confusion the viewers thing with one being up 1-0 is not that confusing.
Yeah.
Okay,
It is
I don't
simple.
think it is either. I don't either, but I think there are some that might think it is. But I guess
What?
if no. I mean, whoever's making the decision. Maybe there are some people that do think it is.
That can't be that confusing.
No, I know. But like, also you got to remember, like, at first when some people took over the swap like ESL, there was the big push for single limb with people coming from regular sports, and with time we switched back to double limb. And I guess I feel like if you're gonna own it and do double limb, then I mean, double limb's the like kind of weird part of it all compared to regular sports. They just have the fucking one map. Like, I don't think it's that confusing at all, personally. But
yeah,
I guess I don't really give a shit either way.
I don't think that's
like,
okay. I'll bring up my expertise on this. Working in league operations, what probably happened was the teams and the players gave input, the league gave input, and someone, I don't know who, thought they wanted to try this, plain and simple. That's typically how it works. They typically go off of feedback like this. And let me explain. A lot of people are like, 2 best of 5s is way better than this. 2 best of 5s, I'm totally okay with it. I don't really care. There is analytics that after the first best of 5, the second best of 5 viewership is much lower. Those analytics do exist. We had that in MLG. It is very much a thing. Now, there are also people saying, well, best of 9 is too long and it's boring. Well, that final was boring. If it was an incredible best of 9, there would be a lot of people saying much differently. That is an absolute fact.
Yeah.
In a best of 5 has the opportunity, 10 maps, which is longer than a best of 9. So that logic also makes absolutely zero sense.
No, best of 9. The best of 9 is awesome.
Math.
I think the best of 9 is cool because it forces you to be a team. For example, we won the first 3 maps in the finals. We went.
Because there's not 2 veto sets. You mean? Because you have to play.
Well, So what you're saying? So we went up 3-0.
We
won a best of 5 there. It's over. But what if the next 3 maps we sucked at? We would have gotten exposed completely. You know what I mean? Like, a best of 5 series with the way vetoes go, you can avoid 2 controls out of the 3.
Yeah.
So that's 2/3. That's a big percentage. You're gonna avoid 3 hard points out of the 5, right? So of course, the vetoes and stuff. So it's like you avoid a lot of stuff in a best of 5 that you cannot avoid in a best of 9 compared. So to win, I think you should have to win a best of 9. I think that's cool because going the long game between 2 good teams could be awesome. I know we got smoked by Dallas last year. That could have been a better series if we didn't play so, lackluster. I get that. And I know we kind of played really well in this one, but in general, I don't know. Like, I just feel like overall that you have to win a best of 9. It just has to be one map. It's plain and simple. I don't think
give them a map.
Anyone's really against that.
Run the BO9.
You tried it. Joe said it. Someone made a decision. They tried it. I personally think it stunk.
If they're worth it, if it's a confusion thing, just stop calling it a best of 9 and call it the grand final is first to 5 wins.
Yeah.
One team starts with the win. That makes it.
One team that can do winners.
I don't know.
I don't think it's a confusion thing. They
I don't either.
They took the 1-0 advantage and they tried it differently, and they did it in a way it was around the veto system. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tried something out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think best of 9s are cool. I think both best of 9s we've seen have been a smoke show, which kind of sucks. Like, if you see a 4-4 best of 9 last map, I think that's going to be insane. To cast it for you guys,
100%.
I think that would be incredible. And I think that will happen if you give it more chances, especially with teams getting better and better. I just think that would be an amazing experience. And from the competitive side, it's what it should be.
Change it back. We liked it for champs. Give them a map. Let's move on. Best of 9. That's fine. It's the best for the competition's sake. You have to be a well-rounded team to win a final of a tournament of a major.
I definitely thought somebody was. I thought multiple of you were going to be arguing for 2 best of 5s for sure.
No,
shot.
I always thought that was just the team never won from losers. It just like never happened.
Very rarely.
I don't know what the overall percentage was, but it's absurd.
It didn't happen enough.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. It was too much of an advantage.
Well, going into that, as a competitor, I'm sure Merk and TeeP can talk to this. It's going into it having to win 2 best of 5s. It's like you win the first one and you're like, oh my god, again.
Yep.
And it's not easy. Where a best of 9 still gives you a lot of hope. You win the first map. It's all right, guys, tied. Here we go.
Yep.
That's it.
It's like, an advantage.
People keep saying best of 9s are too long, and 2 best of 5s can be longer.
Yeah.
I just don't get.
Joe and I've casted.
Wait, aren't
now people are saying best 7s? We've never even done that before. People are killing me.
No, we did best of 7
put my head in the wall.
for Black Ops 3. You played a best of 7, remember?
In single limb.
Yeah, I know. But best 7 had some wild moments. But like, is there that big of a difference? The too long thing. We casted Chris playing a fucking 10-game series. That OpTic, it was an incredible series. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a bad example for this, but like I'm just using it for the longevity. That was long as fuck. Joe and I casted.
You get a break in between, and you have to redo vetoes and everything. That's long as hell.
Yep. Yep, I remember it was like a 20-minute break between series. Yeah, and for viewers, it fucking sucks. As much as like, I don't know.
That was me again.
Sorry,
Fuck, dude.
That was you again. Shit, dude. Crowder 1v3 you attach right through a fucking artillery strike and smoke.
I'm sitting there like, oh my god, what are we doing?
Yeah, but the big thing is, to me, it is just weird that there's no advantage. I think that's the weirdest thing to me. That's just, I don't know. Hopefully it's changed for the next one.
We're on the same page.
Maybe someone make a decision that maybe isn't as close to it.
Moving on.
As much.
We've been live for a long time already past 2 hours. Let's give quick thoughts on GAs. So for those that don't know what the heck is going on, the pro community, I think the AM community is sort of like, I don't want to say leading the pack, but making changes a little bit faster. Anyways, there's talks that the XM4 is getting GA'd. There's talks that certain 74U attachments are getting GA'd. I don't know if that one's accurate or not. I saw some pros testing out QBZ a little bit in scrims. That probably won't be a thing. It'll probably just move to a Krig if the XM4 thing happens. So based on all these following through and holding in terms of gentlemen's agreements, we talked a little bit about the shift in the meta. The Krig is more of the quote-unquote traditional AR. It's slower. You can't play as cracked out as you would be able to with the XM4. Joe compared to something like the Maddox from the BO4, for example. Krig's not sort of the same thing. It also depends on... do you guys know what the 74U attachments were that were in question for these GAs?
It's the muzzle brake, I believe.
It's just the muzzle brake, so that's the one with
the compensator too. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the specifics like that too much, to be honest with you.
So
I don't talk about GAs.
I get. Yeah, Clint doesn't like this combo. But
no, you guys talk about it. I still give a shit. I don't fucking care.
No, I'm kind of
just kidding. I'm just gonna cast and play. Use your.
Here's my point.
Players tell me what they have to use, and I tell them where to go.
Yeah, of course. You don't care about it either. Here's my point. If you're gonna do it to the XM4, how do you not do it to the 74U too?
Well, that's what the back and forth on Twitter has been. But
that's around the attachments, right? Yes.
I don't know.
The players are making these fucking choices. Like it'd be one.
I think the weird thing. The weird thing for me is that these, and I don't know. I mean, this may be a total different discussion. These really aren't like Treyarch weapons we've seen in the past. This is sort of like kind of against what their usual development is. They typically don't have like an XM4 type weapon. You like them if you want. I wouldn't even compare it to the Maddox. I mean, this thing beams like. I mean, you look at like Black Ops 4. I mean, you had the SOG, the Maddox, and the ICR. They've usually been able to sort of build those different levels. Maybe it's maps and size.
Oh, imagine with someone K-Bar or Maddox, someone at really long range. Like we'd freak out. Like remember temp on frequency, like across that outer, and it's like holy shit.
Yeah, but that was hard to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we would be like, holy fuck. Like when someone did that.
Yeah, the XM4 is insane. I get it, bro.
I agree.
I get it too.
That thing does it all. That thing does it all.
I say the same thing for the 74U. I see some of the kills.
Oh, I agree. It's basically I'm basically watching a repeat of last year. I mean, MP5s were just beaming, ARs cross map, M4s were melting.
The XM4 was definitely more busted.
This isn't a big deal. To me, it's not a big deal because we had a whole year of that thing last year. Yeah. I mean, last year,
true.
Dude,
my gosh, super weapon.
Oh, we're talking about Cold War guns being too easy to shoot. You guys remember 9 months ago?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What, the 6 months
so I guess,
ago?
I guess the conversation is like, what would be the next gun in line after the 74U? Would it be the MP5 again, or did that get nerfed too hard?
Assuming,
because the MP5 nerf, like, months ago was like a range nerf, right? Wouldn't that
so. I'm
wouldn't that
sure the MP5 is still not that bad?
Maybe Bullfrog.
I say it'd be like MP5 or maybe like a Bullfrog or something. So maybe the range of the MP5 is just not good. But isn't that the whole point of this?
I don't know.
I think the 74U is a great weapon with the fire rate. Same with the Krieg. The range needs to get a little in there. It's too good at too long of a distance. It needs to be a little bit harder to shoot long range, or just not do as much damage. Maybe not harder to shoot. I think the Krieg 74U is like,
dude, how funny.
I think that's pretty balanced on both sides.
Imagine a Bullfrog. Everyone's just pre-firing the entire map.
I'm just surprised. Treyarch is a dev that typically, they drastically change weapons, and I was gonna say I don't know if it's due to Warzone, which it could be. Sure. Again, everything sort of centers around that right now. I don't know that discussion, but yeah.
So it's going to turn into 74Us and Kriegs is basically what I think is going to happen. Agreed? Thoughts?
That's what I'm feeling.
And I think I like that better. I think I like it better than having the XM4 in. I think XM4 dumbed down a lot of the S&D maps personally. And I will back this up again and say it for I know a lot of people agree with me on this. A lot of our S&D maps in the pool suck ass. So I don't think the XM4 helped that out at all. So I hope we can get some different maps in the S&D rotation. And I think that's actually a good move, the XM4. I think it was too strong too. That thing was nutty.
It was insane.
Yeah, it was nutty.
Nuts.
I like it, personally. I know a lot of people don't like them. I think in this particular situation, I like it.
I still don't.
Clint, we know you don't care.
I just wanted to remind you.
I don't think Clint could even shoot the XM4.
Listen, I'm just going to have fun casting, dude. I don't care what the fuck. They throw rocks at each other. I'm going to have fun casting.
That's why you're the GOAT caster. It doesn't matter.
I mean, for the most part, like, what I always say is these are the guys playing 6 to 8 hours a day. They're trying to make this as competitive as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, people can be annoyed and upset with GAs and this and that, but Clint's right. I really don't care. I'm just going to cast, and that's it.
Cast what's in front of me and have fun. But I know it's a much deeper thing for them, but
let's just end it there. Fuck it. It's fine with me. Pretty weird way to end, but yeah, we don't really care that much. Just we want to see the pros fry each other. Doesn't really matter what
I just want to watch them play.
Yeah,
if they think it's gonna be better for the game, they play more than me. Sounds good. Like, what am I supposed to argue with them? Like,
yeah, right. They know better than we do. Yeah.
Right.
I'm
not playing 6 to 8 hours a day. Like,
yeah, no shot. Well, you're not playing League play?
I'm not.
Weird.
No.
All right, guys.
Superstore.
Amazing episode today. The major was fantastic to watch. We're in for a great year. Watching Cold War is awesome. I think the tournament went really well. Did you guys catch viewership by chance? I didn't really keep an eye on viewership at all, actually. I was that's one thing I didn't. I usually pay attention to it, and this time I did not.
I saw it hit around
Sunday got
100K or somewhere in that
yeah, I think like Saturday it was like 100K. Sunday, I think after the winner, I think winners final got to like 85, and then some people like tweeted me like just that like they just felt Faze was gonna destroy. So some were like uninterested. But I think the final was right around 80K.
Okay, it's not bad. I'm curious to see how viewership.
It's gonna take. We still have that problem of the OpTic brand and other brands growing, and it's just still a thing. But
no, I don't
eventually push past that.
I don't think that's really. I don't think that's bad.
So 88K for finals. Well, okay, that's pretty solid.
Joe and I were casting a match with 2 teams that weren't the biggest brands, and it had like 50, 60K, and I was like, okay, I felt pretty good about that. So.
And one thing you got to keep in mind too, I just feel like it's more than just the live views too, right? The concurrent viewers, like a lot of people are watching that shit after the fact too, right? On their own time. So you got to keep that in mind too. But
cool. Yeah, I'm just excited with it. Real quick before we end it, just like with the, it seems they are really finally. It started last year, but like the viewer incentives and trying to get that rolling, like it seems like there's a real effort there to improve shit like that. So
yeah,
give me a reactive champs weekend watch. Those
right,
bro. That'd be fire. Absolutely fire. We have one reactive so far. I don't know if we're getting
no, two. A 74U just came out.
Two.
Right?
My bad.
About that one.
My bad. Two.
Pretty sure I get Dev every time I use.
It just crashes. All right, man. Chat, we love you. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the live episode. If you guys only caught a portion of the episode, it'll be going up on YouTube as per usual. Follow all the boys on their social medias and on their streams. We play a lot of Warzone, man. Follow us on our Twitch streams. Sub to their YouTubes. Lots of great content coming out of the BTB. Some very talented people. Crowder, congrats again on the win. Both of you are great at casting, and I'm just hanging out. Appreciate you guys chilling. Any of you guys streaming after this or no?
I've slept 8 hours in the last 2 days.
Clint's thinking about it.
I've been thinking about it, but I don't think so.
All right, no stream after this, guys. We're going to cut it off here. We'll see you guys on our normal live streams, and I hope you guys will have a great rest of your night. All right, thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. Bye now.
Bye.